Good evening, everyone, and welcome along to EML. We are here for the qualifying night tonight in Silverstone for the British Grand Prix at the Silverstone International Circuit. Of course, my name is James. I'm going to be taking you through the stream, as always, here tonight, and indeed for the rest of the coverage for EML on a Wednesday. And joining me in the commentary box is my regular co-commentator for EML Premier going forward this season. It is Mr. Graham Chapple. Graham, how are you doing?
James, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing really well. How's yourself?
I can't complain, thank you. It's gonna be fun. I'm looking forward to it all.
Yeah, it is going to be really fun, I think, to see how everything is going to unfold out on track. Of course, no racing here tonight. It is just pure qualifying, and we've got full qualifying for you here tonight. 18 minutes, 15 minutes, and 12 minutes. Basically, ignore that format because these guys get represented by the point system, and the point system replicates the positions of where they finish within qualifying. So first position gets 20 points, second position gets 19, third position gets 18, and then so on and so forth in 1 point increments until you get down to 20th position in 1 point. Got that? I hope you have. Because we're going to be reminding you as we go forward, of course, in Lobby 1 and indeed in Lobby 2 later on as well. Let's have a look, though, at the 10 teams that are going to be taking part, and we'll delve into the drivers shortly. But we have got Elite Racing Team, we've got IFR Academy, TRT Academy, the Onus Academy, COS eSports, eSports Wales TAN, LATAM Formula R, Neverlast Racing, CPI eSports, and Relentless. And those are 10 teams, some relatively new, some have been here, of course, last season within EML. And Graham, looking forward to seeing what are these guys actually going to do out on track tonight.
Absolutely. I think that a lot of people will be wanting to prove themselves, and we're better to do it. Like tonight in qualifying, all out, not need to worry about strategies or anything of the sort. It's just pace, pace, pace. And if you got it, it's time to see it.
Yeah, of course, around Silverstone, of course, where there might be a corner name named after my co-commentator or not, and I'm not going to throw a pun out there towards the end of the first lap that we'll commentate on, of course. Looking, though, at the drivers that have got everything between themselves here tonight. So, for ERT, we have Silly, Sly Guy and Hannes. Some of these pronunciations may go quite awry, by the way, so don't worry if I pronounce it wrong. IFR have got Stefano and Kierkegaard. This is why we should have practiced before we came live. Tony and Miles Dunn for TRT. We've got Limno and Yul for Leonis. We've got Ewan and Ecos Lemon for Ecos. Welsh Maldonado and Panda for eSports Wales TAN. LFR Luc Lira and LFR Ciclonado are for the LFR team. Felix Swan and Jerome are there for Neverlast Racing. Norwegian
eSports
Boy and
Wales
Nathan
TAN
for CPI, and Wouter and Izza for Team Relentless. We've got Ono, Joel, Jesse, Mika, Menno, Huki, Costa, Karudi, Snookster, and Pharrell Fury as all of the reserves for the teams here tonight. And looking at that grid, I'm immediately drawn to the team from Relentless. Wouter, former F1 eSports driver. Izza, who I know quite well from Liga Group Division 1 and has got a lot of pace between themselves. They, I think, might be the team to beat here tonight.
Absolutely. Some strong pedigree throughout that grid. It's going to be interesting to see how they hit the ground running, if they can get into... I really think we could see a 24 tonight, such as the level of competition. I'd be really interested to see what the times are going to be. I think those guys could be right up there to set the benchmarks.
Yeah, 124s I think are definitely possible around Silverstone, especially given how the nature of the track actually is on this game. And if you've experienced Silverstone before, I have done a few time trial laps around here at Silverstone, and I've got to be honest, it is such a good track to drive. Always has been and always will be on any of the F1 games, and hopefully it is going to provide the showcase of what is going to be seen, of course, within EML. And the same two teams, of course, the same 10 teams, I should say, are doing battle in Lobby 2 as well. Of course, Aidan Carter, otherwise known as Commentalist, and LR Brendan are going to be taking you the action for that one, and that will be around 8:15 when that gets going. We expect it to take around 50 minutes in terms of full qualifying, so sit back, relax, enjoy the ride. Qualifying about to begin shortly, and hopefully it is going to be a great night's worth of action. As we are, of course, going to have a look at the Silverstone track. Of course, 18 turns around the famous airfield circuit, 3.8 miles in length, and the scene of one horrific collision, I think, this season. Verstappen and Hamilton down and towards Copse. And obviously, with qualifying, we're not going to see that here tonight, are we, Graham?
You certainly hope not. Anyways, impeding would be the last thing anyone wants on a flying lap, especially at such a high-speed corner where it's all about, it's do or die, essentially. It's such a key to the lap as you head out onto the into the Maggots-Beckett's Chapple complex. You want to be no distractions in front of you, certainly not least a car in front of you. So everyone will be hoping to avoid the traffic and qualifying.
Yeah, it can be, especially with 20 drivers going to be here tonight, 2 drivers, of course, representing each team. It could get quite traffic-full, I think, out on track. Traffic-full's not a word, but can get quite intense, I think, in terms of the traffic out on track. And space is going to be at a real premium around this circuit.
Absolutely. But that said, it could be worse. There are other tracks where things are considerably worse, like Belgium, where it backs up into that last chicane. At least at Silverstone, you've got quite a number of straights you can at least try and get out of the way. You've got the Hamilton Straight, the Hangar Straight, the Wellington Straight, heading down towards Copse as well. There's plenty of opportunity to get out of the way of someone on a flying lap. So it could be worse, to be fair.
Yeah, it could be worse. I don't think these guys will be too impressive. I say Zandvoort could be the next circuit that we go to within EML, because that is just an absolute traffic haven in terms of the track. Around a 1 minute and 12 lap time, I think that is, around Zandvoort. And even quicker than that, obviously, on this new game. But Silverstone going to be the place and the showdown track for us here tonight. As I say, 10 teams going to be doing battle. And for Silverstone, it is a really, really good opener, I think, to the EML season. And, of course, we'll have a look at the calendar as we go on towards the end of the stream. And hopefully we are going to be getting underway very shortly indeed. It looks like there might be a couple of drivers having a few issues with connection. I can certainly see that everyone that I've said within the list is here. So that is great news, I think.
Absolutely. Like, again, full turnout. Can't expect too much else. It's going to be exciting. Again, seeing how different drivers negotiate different situations. Rivals, most of these guys are. So it's going to be really interesting to see how they negotiate that dynamic, especially on a track that is high-paced and not too long, to be fair. Like you were saying, Zandvoort as well. So should be compelling once we get going.
Yeah, it should be compelling. I think this track, if I'm not mistaken, be taking about 70% full throttle. And that is absolutely remarkable, given that just a few years ago, obviously when the old format was there, 2008, 2009 I'm talking about, we had the track around about 60% full throttle, and that's because of the inclusion of the new pit straight and the inclusion, of course, of the reformatted corners and curbs around this track at Silverstone. And it's fascinating to see, of course, how this has actually transpired from the olden days, which was only about 13 years ago now, to now, and the format has changed completely entirely of this circuit. And I think, honestly, Silverstone, great institution in British motorsport, but also great institution in terms of Formula One. And I couldn't think of a better track, actually, to host this qualifying night here tonight.
Absolutely. I believe it was the first Grand Prix that took place under the official F1 format. But like you're saying, with the new, obviously, I say new, it's been around for 10 plus years now, what we call the new iteration of Silverstone with the inclusion of the Wellington Straight. Well, it doesn't mean that this track is mostly what people call a power-sensitive circuit, and you're spending a lot of that time on throttle. And the thing I'm thinking about is I wonder if we'll see a degree of slipstreaming tonight from some teammates. If we might see that into the equation, given how much of a advantage you can get if you can get a successful slipstream down one of these straights.
Yeah, you'd like to imagine so. I think obviously this is a team's championship, so I think slipstreaming and I think trying to give that slipstream to the driver behind you, your teammate in fact, will be key, I think, to seeing those lap times actually come down. We should see the grid, I think, within about a second of each other here tonight, and that accounts for all drivers, of course, here tonight. But remember, it's full qualifying, so we've got 3 basic formats. We've got 18 minutes worth of qualifying, which is Quali 1, then 15 minutes, and then 12 minutes. So it should take around 50 minutes in sort of length. We are a little bit late in getting going. There's a couple of drivers having connection issues, I believe, so that's why we might be a little bit late in going. But 48 people, by the way, tuning into the stream so far, which is absolutely remarkable. Thank you so much to each and every one of you for tuning in to tonight, and a lot of support going for each of the teams, which is really good to see as well, as I think we're about to get underway.
Fantastic stuff. You love to see it, don't you? Like this banding together for people pulling for their friends, their team. Stuff that you really like to see. It's especially in the F1 community, which can be a little bit at each other at times.
We don't want to mention anything in terms of that, but of course we're about to get going towards qualifying. So then, let's get started. Let us run the trailer, and then let's go into qualifying. Welcome along then to EML Qualifying Night. We are here, of course, for League One. It is pre-season for the British Grand Prix around the Silverstone International Circuit. Of course, the former airfield that has been hosted here tonight, of course, in F1. 3 compound tyres that the guys have got to use within this qualifying night. The C3, C2 and C1 compound tyre. The softs, mediums and the hards, of course, TU and me. Red wall, yellow wall and white wall tyre. And around a track like Silverstone, it should be 124s all the way, I think, in terms of the qualifying times that you should see out on track tonight. Let's have a look then at the track in question. 18 turns, 3.6 mile in length, 2 DRS zones, 1 down the Wellington Straight, 1 down the Hangar Straight, down in towards Stowe. Quite an elevation changing circuit, especially in that middle sector, so a lot of downforce is actually needed in terms of the setups. And we go in towards qualifying, and we'll see, of course, how these drivers are going to get on. But we transition in towards qualifying. Beautiful blue skies and sunshine, clear weather for this qualifying session. That is exactly what we like to see.
Absolutely. It also leaves no excuses out there on these in these dry conditions. I know some people can hide behind the wet conditions as a surprise, but that won't be the case today. Absolutely gorgeous. Optimum for optimal performance. Should be fun, as we got a car out on track, which is one of the aforementioned REL drivers, I believe.
It is Wouter. Yeah, Wouter is the first man out on track, of course, of F1 eSports fame. And Team Relentless have been really creating shockwaves, I think, certainly within the LOE community. But in the EML community, I think Relentless might be a team to watch out for. I certainly think they could be top in this session. Wouter has got sublime pace on his day, and when he gets a lap in, he is going to be so quick. And around a track like Silverstone, which I think will suit him down to T, Wouter, I think, might be the man to beat for Relentless.
He's going to have a great opportunity to get a nice clean run on it to begin with here, as everyone else makes their way onto the track. So if he is to be one of these drivers who is very highly rated, I'd be interested to see what he can open out with, if he can get a bad lap on the board. And really important for the confidence to get a really good lap off of the bat, and can really set that benchmark to your rivals. Can demoralise a riot at the gate if it is something special.
Yeah, Relentless will be hoping to try and top the session. We've got teams like ERT, we've got teams like ECOS as well. LR, of course, won the EML Championship with their main team in Season 1. They'll be hoping for more of the same from the Academy team in Season 2. But Wouter now coming through in toward Vale and Club through 16, 17, 18. Let's ride on board then with the man of the moment, Wouter, as we embark on this 3.6 mile lap down the newly formed Hamilton Straight, down in towards Turn 1 of Abbey. And then through Farm, through Turn 2, and then in toward the village section at Turn 3, braking just at the 50 metre board, of course, in the purple and black livery car that the Relentless are so known for. Now through the loop at Turn 4, and then through Aintree at Turn 5. Of course, Aintree played host to the Grand Prix in the 1950s, and that is why that's why the corner is actually named as that. Through the first sector, good first sector from Reuters, now embarked on Brooklyn and then towards Luffield, taking the wide out line, then trying to get as deeper into the apex as possible to try and get that run out over the corner. Very nice indeed from Wouter. Now comes through Woodcote and then in towards Copse, the old Turn 1, famously where Verstappen and Hamilton had that collision, of course, in earlier on this season, real life Formula 1. Now in toward the fastest part of the track, through Maggots, and then through Beckett, and then in towards Chapel, of course, not to be confused with my co-commentator, of course, who now comes through out of Chapel, and then runs down to 102.6, I think that is, through the middle sector from Reuters, so looking not too bad in terms of lap time so far. Now in towards Stowe at Turn 15, and then embarks on towards the final couple of corners, through in towards Vale and Club. 16, 17 and 18 await him. That is pretty much a lap of Silverstone over and done with from the relentless man, and he's now coming across the line. The Dutchman, we will go top, of course, and the lap time is a 1:25.5. Not a bad lap to start off the night at all.
That's a solid banker right there. Good lap and scope for improvement as well. So that'll be an interesting one. But it seems a lot of people are out to start this Q1 on mediums. We got Jerome coming across the line and set his lap time 27.2 on the medium compound tyre. One of many on the medium tyre just to begin affairs here.
Yeah, Mika I'm on board with. He's coming through the end of the middle sector, and he's another man, of course, for the LR Academy team, that he's on a set of mediums as well. So he can box through Stowe in towards 10.15, and then in towards Vale and Club once again. Not sure if he'll actually invalid on this lap, but we'll run on board with him nonetheless. Mika in towards the final couple of corners. On a set of mediums, you would imagine it'll be around the 1:26.8 mark. Mika across the line to 1:26.1. What am I talking about with a 1:26.8? It's a 1:26.1 from Mika. 0.6 of a second off the back of Ruta. That's a remarkably quick lap on a set of mediums as Ciclanado now goes top with a 25.4 for LFR.
Yeah, good times flying in here on these, mostly on mediums. We had one person wander out on a set of intermediates somehow. Not sure what happened there.
I think that was Ewan, if I'm not mistaken, for Ecos, and I saw that. I was literally going to say, he's on a set of intermediates, but some of the guys tend to go on that set of intermediates just so they can lock in that setup, and then they go out and the setup is already locked in. But Ciclone are out on top, taking a nice Gulf Racing livery, I've got to say, with him, the LFR man out on top. About 800 to 900 of a second severing him and Wuta at this stage. Hannes, by the way, 1:25.8 on a set of medium compound tyres. Fastest of the mediums that we've seen so far. These guys obviously looking like they're using up their set of mediums early on, but a 1:25.8, 4.5 tenths off Ciclonado on top. Hannes, if he puts in a set of soft slap, we're easily getting into the 24s tonight.
Possibly, and everyone on the mediums obviously want to save a set for, save a set of sauce for later in the session to have a few goes, have a few bites of the cherry, as it will, in the later part, so you can get more than one attempt at a possible 24 on a fresher set of tyres. You would be hoping for, as you got another 25 on the mediums heading in. I believe that is ERT Silly.
Yep, Silly Sly guy, as I'm going to name him in commentary now, 1:25.9, out in 4th position, actually just about a tenth of his teammates. Not too bad showing from the ERT boys, of course. A reminder of the point system coming into tonight. These guys get awarded for the position, so the minimum that can score for 19th position is 2 points. They go up in 1 point increments until you get to 20th position on 20 points. Now, if you're failing at maths like me, you'll probably not do the maths, and all of these guys are going to be separated by 18 points out on track, and it's whoever, of course, gets the most points for the team will get top spot, of course, from qualifying tonight.
Yeah, gotta play the team game, not just about one man. Obviously, two drivers make the team, and this is what it's all about. It's a team sport. This one, not unlike most league races in many ways, where sometimes it is every man for himself. Gotta think for the team. That's what I'm thinking. I'm sure I'd be surprised if we don't see some slipstreaming at some point again, given how team-centric this all is.
Yeah, you would imagine we'll see slipstreaming maybe in the latter part, maybe in qualifying 3 we'll begin to see that. But Welsh Maldonado on our lap, he's just started on a set of soft compound tyre, we'll ride on board with him, and of course he's got the first you have to finish mark on that, famously of course catchphrase by Michael Schumacher, the 7-time Formula 1 world champion, as he now comes through in towards Luffield. Through Brooklands in towards Luffy. I don't know why I was getting confused there for that. Booker now coming through that corner and then in towards Cops. And he's not looking too bad through the first sector, of course, for eSports Wales alongside Panda, of course, here tonight. And eSports Wales will be looking to try and get on their relatively late score within EML. They jumped very late last season in Season 1, replacing, I think it was IFR. And Welsh Maldonado on a lap, just coming out of Chapel. Stefano was left the session for IFR. Hopefully he'll get back in. And 1 or 2.6, I think that is, for Welsh Maldonado through the middle sector once again. And that comes through in towards Stowe. 9.5 minutes remaining in qualifying 1. Qualifying 2 and 3, of course, still yet to come. Welsh Maldonado now coming through in towards the final couple of corners. Flies through in towards Vale, now in towards Club corner at turn 18. Now comes across the line, and he goes 5th with a 1:25.8, and quite a few of the guys around the 1:25 mark.
I think there's definitely more time to find there for Welsh Maldonado. Seemed to lose a bit of time through Sector 3, a bit of a scruffy end, and that's a bit of track on the table there coming through Stowe as well. So I think he'll be confident that he can go a couple, at least maybe 3 or so tenths quicker than that, because definitely seemed to leave a bit of time on the table there in Sector 3. So I think that's encouraging for him.
Welsh Maldonado isn't a man, apparently. She's a woman. I've just been informed by Mr. Ivan. My goodness me, if I knew that before commentary, I wouldn't have called her a man. But Welsh Maldonado, it's great to see. Of course, a 25.8 from Welsh Maldonado. Very good in terms of the lap times, and putting up there with the big boys, which is good to see.
Absolutely. Again, like I said, plenty of time to be found. A couple of tenths even, and that would lift her up to P3, because it's very, very tight between LR Hannes and Welsh Maldonado.
Yeah, Welsh Maldonado will be hoping, of course, on that set of soft compound tyres. We saw Nathan come in 7th with a 26 flat as well. Izza, though, on a lap as he now comes through. The other man for Relentless, of course, Ruta currently up in 2nd. I believe he is on a lap as well, just started one. But Izza coming through Stowe in towards Maggots and Beckett, actually through Cops, I should say, in towards Maggots and Beckett, and now comes through Beckett's now, and Izza really, really good in terms of a chase. He should be up towards the top end of the field. Ciclonado and Ruta, watch out, because Izza is quick on his day, and Izza now comes through in towards Stowe at turn 15. 8 minutes to go in qualifying 1. It's Ciclonado out on top, Ruta 2nd, Tim in 3rd. If you're just tuning in, you really have not missed much at all. It's going to get quite spicy as we get towards the end of the qualifying night. Izza now comes through the final corner at Club Corner. Izza to the line, and he troubles them. He troubles them all right to 125.2 from Izza, and he now puts Relentless to the top, and Relentless looking quite smart, 1 and 3 at the minute.
Looking very handsome, but of course it is only Q1, so this pace is encouraging, but you have to do it when it counts, and that'll be later in Q2 and Q3 as well.
Yeah, you do, of course, 7.5 minutes to go, but Izza out on top, Ciclonado 2nd, Ruta in 3rd, and of course, within qualifying 1, 4 drivers will get knocked out of this qualifying session, so the 4 that do will pick up that minimum score of 2 points. They'll pick up 2 to 5 points, and then, of course, it'll go up in 1 point increments from then on, and I'll say that again in Q2 and Q3 when we get there. ESW Panda, though, on a lap, and Panda hopefully going to be on a good lap. A 126.2 and a set of soft compound tyres. Bit of time to find. But like we've seen with Welsh Maldonado, like we've seen with Nathan, they should be towards the 125.9. And just looking at the times as well, Tim and down to Panda separated by 3.5 tenths per second.
Yeah, tightly contested. Of course, there's I believe there's some different compounds at play, so should close even further, you'd expect, when push comes to shove and we got the softs on every car. A couple of them still wandering out on mediums here. Just trying to save as many sets of the sauce as they can, try and get through using as little of those as possible. Could be interesting come the end of the session, because as the session builds up, the tyres usually do get softer, so you might start on mediums, end up finishing on softs. We're going to see if anyone's going to try and hold for their time on mediums. You should see a few squeak through on mediums here in Q1.
Yeah, we should do, I think. Obviously everyone going for that set of medium compound tyres. LMN is on a lap, and LMN, TTML F2 fame, of course, last season was well up there in the mix alongside the likes of Scuba, and he'll be hoping to put on a good show with his TTML fortunes, of course, at play, as well as his EML fortunes for Ecos, I should say. His element now comes down in towards Cops, through turn number 9, halfway through the lap at this point, and the Dane will be hoping for a good lap at this point. So the Sligo just came out on an out lap. I think Luke Lira has improved to 126.2 on 3-lap all medium, so that's a good lap there by the LFR man. His teammate, of course, Ciclonado, currently in 2nd, but LMN on a lap, running down in towards Cops. Let's see what he can do. 5.5 minutes to go. Izza, Ciclonado, Ruta currently your top 3. But what can LMN do? He's on a set of medium compound tyres. We should be expecting him to see around the likes of Kierkegaard, around the likes of Tony Perillo as well. Tony Perillo, of course, as TRT Tony. LMN, though, through the final quarter, through Club, comes to the line. It goes 16th. Disappointing. 26.6.
So have to come back in quickly and get back out again to advance, but definitely not what he would have been hoping for. He is in that drop zone, so he's going to have to get himself in pronto, as most other people are just sitting waiting for the time to tick, whereas for Ecos LMN it's not his friend at the moment.
Oh, Jerome! Goodness me, Jerome has spun off into the wall, coming through Corpse, and that is a hard hit. Just lost it purely on the curb. He took the corner very nicely, I thought, on the entry. The exit, though, the exit curb is what caught about, and Jerome, sadly, out of the session, and no further part going for Jerome. So that means at least one driver from Neverlast Racing are not going to be in Q2.
Going to be disappointing. The first one to make a mistake. This track can bite if you let it, and I'm sure we'll see one or two become a cropper for the sessions are finished.
Yeah, 4 minutes to go. It is around on top. Seeknado second, Ruta in third. Hannah is, by the way, in fifth position on a night lap, and it looks like plenty of people now coming out for their out laps, it seems. I'm on board with City Sly Guy. He's now out there on a set of soft compounded tyres, and the natural improvement around this track is anywhere between 6th and 8/10ths of a second. Not the 1.2 seconds as we've seen, of course, in the last game. But City Sly Guy coming through now, Luffield, in towards Woodcote, and then down in towards Cops. And we'll see, from his point of view now, how he takes Cops. Does he do a Jerome and run out wide on the exit curb? That is beautifully poised, though, coming through, and that is how you take Cops through turn 9 and then in towards Maggots and Beckett. Fastest flowing section on the track. As we now come through turn 12, turn 13, and then on the exit of Chapel onto the Hangar Straight as we now run down in toward the end of the middle sector to 102.2 through the middle sector from City Sly Guy, so it's not bad at all from the ERT man, and he'll be hoping to try and get around the likes of Tim and around the likes of Hannah as his teammate as well. We're only separated by 4 thousandths per second, I may add. 3 minutes to go in the session. Where will City Sly Guy go? Comes through the final couple of corners, through Vale, in towards Club Corner at turn 18, now to the line, and he goes second, and look at that, he's 5 thousandths of a second off the relentless man of Izza.
That was a super clean lap, using all the track available to him without exceeding it. Lovely turn-in and rotation through that high-speed section. That was an absolutely brilliant lap from City Sly Guy there. Puts him in a well-earned P2. The margin's so fine.
Yeah, margins are so fine. Norwegian boy comes across the line to go 16th. Disappointing from him, but he can get another lap in on that sort of soft compounded tyres. CPI, of course, have got Nathan up in 8th position. He's still in the pit lane. Stefano out there. It looks like he's been for a trip across the gravel, and it looks like, I thought he had damage there, but he doesn't. But he has certainly picked up a little bit of grass on those tyres, either from the exit of Chapel or he's made a mistake on his lap. The IFR man, of course, for the IFR Academy team, he'll be hoping towards the top end of the field. We'll see as we come along. Tony, by the way, goes 5th for TRT, 25.8 from him. Stefano now to the line. It was invalid, so he's still down in 19th.
Hannah's here is on a good lap, 26.9 first sector, coming through Woodcote, so one to keep an eye on possibly to rival Izza and City Sly Guy, as others are nearing the end of their laps as well. A minute 40 left in this session.
Yeah, carry on right on board with that lap. I'm going to ride on board, I think, with Mika, who's just came through Cops.
So it was Hannah's through Maggots, Beckett's, and then Chapel missing the apex, somewhat ring onto the grass. How's the sector time looking? 102 flat, so even still, despite missing the apex there, heading onto the Hangar Straight, so looking at a very good lap for Hannah's. Approaching Stowe, right-hander, using all the track on the exit without exceeding it. Lovely stuff. And heading down towards the last two corners through Vale. Don't want to take too much curb here on the entry and exit. Very clean. Tight as he can then, coming across the line, it should be good, and it is very good. And the margins again so fine, 7,000 separating the top three.
Absolutely unbelievable. Hannah's then puts it to the top for ERT, and ERT look like they mean business out on track. Izza in second, City Sly Guy in third. No sign of Ciclonado. He thinks he's done enough. At 25.4, it should be enough, I think. But remember, all of the guys in that set of soft compounded tyres now, from a set of mediums, I should say, transitioned on to a set of soft compounded tyres. Welsh Maldonado, she is on a lap now, coming down in through Woodcote and then in towards Cops, and we'll see what the Welsh woman will do. Out on track, Atana is still out on top, is a second, City Sly Guy in third, and Welsh Maldonado now coming in towards Maggots and Beckett, through Maggots and then in towards Beckett, and they've got to try and get this pinpoint accurate, pinpoint perfection there from Welsh Maldonado, and now comes through the end of the middle sector. It's quick, it's a 102.7, I make that out, through the middle sector, so maybe barely improving, but going around the likes maybe of Tony, in between himself and Wooter, Is a Silly Sligo and Ciclonado will not get laps in, so their sessions are done. Now, Welsh Maldonado coming through the final couple of corners. She is now coming through the final corner, through Club, and absolutely butchers that on the exit curve, spins the car round, and will not improve above 9th, but I think she's done enough.
Some people backing out of their laps. He used to be Panda backing out of his lap. Felix is looking for a good lap too, and then he and Validator coming out of Stowe. As there's a bit of a gaggle of cars hanging out down towards Woodcut and Copse.
Mika goes 4th, 25.3. Yeah, quite a few cars coming down in towards Copse. Rooter I'm on board with 25.5 at the minute. Tony is out there on a lap and he's directly behind him out on track as well. So 7th and 8th all to play for Rooter on a lap though. Let's see what he can do. He should surely improve ahead of the likes of Hannes, ahead of the likes of Izza as well. But Rooter now on a lap, running down in towards Copse. Tim goes quickest for LR with a 1:25.1. That is a stonking lap from Tim. As we go, of course, in towards the session, wouldn't be surprised if we may even sneak a 23 by the end of tonight. Rooter now coming through though, in towards the final couple of corners. We'll run a ball now. Element down and 18th will not improve. Panda is on the borderline at the minute. Rooter goes 6th. He's done enough. Tony now across the line. He doesn't improve. Nathan goes 10th. Panda is the only man out on track and he will not improve. So eSports Wales have got 1 in, 1 out of qualifying 1.
It seemed to go wrong for him in Sector 1. They already backed out basically by the time he got down to Brooklands. So whatever happened to ESW Panda, he is out in Q1.
I'm loving the front of his car, by the way. Keep calm and no heroics in towards San Devos. I like that. I rate that massively. But to end off qualifying 1, Tim out on top, Hannes in 2nd and Izza in 3rd. And there is that man there, Tim, for the LR Academy. And that is a stonking lap. And if it's anything to go by with the likes of Amazing Hour and what Harry Banks did last season in the EML, LR are looking pretty good, I've got to say.
Absolutely. So no one in the end ended up leaving their time on mediums on the board, apart from LMN, who's the only driver whose best time came on mediums. So the track improvement there, ramping up towards the end of that session.
Yeah, definitely going to ramp up as we get through, of course. Qualifying 2 await us, and it's Tim, the Italian, out on top from Hannes in 2nd and Izza in 3rd. But look at that, 2nd to 4th are covered by, as you say, Graham, 7,000th of a second out on track. Mika there in 5th for LR, so really good showing from them and from ERT and from Relentless. Maybe a common theme as we go through tonight. Ciclonado in 7th, good for the RFR team. Kierkegaard in 8th, Felix in 9th, and Nathan running off the top 10. Luke Lever for LFR in 11th, IFR Stefano in 12th, TRT Tony in 13th, Welsh Maldonado, she's in 14th, Ewan in 15th, knocked out of qualifying 1, and therefore picking up 5, 4, 3, and 2 points respectively. Panda picks up 5, Norwegian picks up 4, LMN picks up 3, and Jerome picks up 2 points.
Top 9 covered by less than 4/10 of a second. Top 15 covered by less than 9/10 of a second. It is very, very tight out there. It's fantastic.
It is fantastic, and we cannot behold ourselves, I think, for qualified 2. We're going to get, of course, straight into it. But a reminder of what this qualifying night is all about. All of these guys that get knocked out of qualifying, they pick up points. So as I said there, 5 points to Panda and 4 points to the likes of Jerome as well. They all pick up points for their team. So that's the minimum score now that they can get. And I'm sure Maze or somebody in the background is probably frantically doing the maths to see who is going to qualify and who isn't for, of course, League 1. But Lucky Lars tuned into the stream saying good stream. 59 viewers, I've got to say, by the way. Thank you so much to everyone that is tuning in for this qualifying out. Of course, don't miss out on the action later on. We have got Lobby 2, of course, Aidan Carter and LR Brendan taking you through the action, of course, for Lobby 2. Until then, you're stuck with us, I'm afraid. Myself and Graham Chapple taking you through the commentary for Lobby 1. Silly Sly Guy and Kierkegaard are the first out on track. And Kierkegaard, one of those drivers that was on the borderline in qualifying 1. He's out there on an outlap, and the IFR man, if it's anything to go by IFR, he should be right up towards the top end.
Absolutely, given how tight things were in Q1. But the thing I'm interested to see is who can nail their first lap here, because we've seen how, we saw at the end of Q1 how things ramped up so quickly. No one could really get through on a set of mediums. So there's really not a lot of time to waste here, especially in Q2 where the full amount of positions, and I say that like 11th to 15th are on the hook here, rather than the, arguably it was 16th to 18th, essentially with obviously 19 cars to start Q1, and then we lost then Jerome through Q1. So getting your first lap here, nailing that, might really help you. If you think you can get through to Q3 on that lap and only use one set of softs, could really, really help you here. Cyclonado is taking the bold approach here, going out. He's only car out on mediums here to start Q2, and LMN, this was very costly for him because he only got only one proper run here on softs and couldn't nail it, and he was out in Q1.
Yeah, I've got to say, though, Ewan is probably the quicker driver out of the two ECOS guys. Don't be surprised to see Ewan towards the top end of the field. Kierkegaard, though, coming through the final couple of corners, through Vale and in towards Club, and now comes across the line, across the Hamilton straight, down in towards turn number 1, through Abbey, and then through Farm, and then in towards the village section of turn number 3. We'll break around the 50-metre board, and the AR4 man for the Academy team will be hoping to try and put in a good lap. His teammate Stefano still not that there on a lap. Tony not there on a lap either, and they're still in the pit lane alongside Luke Lever, of course. But Kierkegaard now coming down the Wellington straight, down in towards Brooklands, and of course Silverstone has 3 track layouts. Well, 4 if you include the Stowe layout, of course. The Grand Prix layout, the national layout, and the international layout. The international national, of course, used by British touring cars and the likes. Kierkegaard, though, in towards Woodcote, down in towards Copse. Then at turn number 1, passing the old pit straight, of course, to the right-hand side as he now comes through Copse and then in towards Maggott and Beckett, and the Dane will be hoping to try and put on a good performance here tonight. The IFR team needed from their first showing in qualifying 1. Kierkegaard, though, through in towards the final couple of corners through the end of the middle sector to 102.2 through the middle sector from Kierkegaard, so it's not looking too bad at all from the IFR Academy man. I would imagine we'll see around the midpoint of the 25s, I think, with this lap. For Kierkegaard coming through Copse, coming through Stowe, I should say, in towards Vale and then in towards Club, through 16, 17, and then in towards turn number 18, and Kierkegaard now towards the line, comes across the line, and it's a 125.4, exactly where I want him to be, right in the midpoint.
Decent banker. Silly Sly Guy 27.6 had a big moment coming into that fast speed Magus Beckett's Chapel section, so he kind of backed off of his lap there as Felix goes to second place, 25.6, and immediately replaced by Tim, who's just 200ths off of Kierkegaard there for P1.
Ivan goes 4th as well, 25.8. They're bettered, of course, by Reuter. Goes 2nd with a 25.4. Anybody going to be out there? Ciclonado, by the way, is off track. I'm not sure where this actually is. He's got damage to the left side end plate. So Ciclonado's obviously had a bit of a mare out on track. That was coming through Copse. He's got left side end plate damage on the car. Izza, however, has just gone quickest for Relentless. So same old, 25.2 from Izza. Kierkegaard 2nd with a 25.4. Reuter in 4th with a 25.4. And then Tim in 4th with a 25.4 as well. And I make that 2100, separating Kierkegaard down to Tim.
So tight. Arguably, Cyclonado lucky to escape, really, because so often with such the high-speed nature of Copse, you can go very quickly into a barrier. So can lick his wounds and come out for another attempt, but that medium run seems like a run wasted, to be honest, at this stage.
Yeah, to be honest, he set the lap time on a set of soft compounded tyres, and albeit he was very competitive on that set of soft compounded tyre, and it's a little bit interesting to see why he's actually gone for that medium strategy. Albeit there's not going to be a race. There's no 25% race. There's no 5-lap race after this. It's all full qualifying. So these guys can choose whatever tyre they decide to go on. Silly Sly Guy, by the way, in the second lap on those set of softs, has gone 2nd with a 25.3. Nathan, however, has just started up on a lap. The CPI man, of course, hoping to try and get up towards the top end of the field. His teammates, of course, being out of the session. But Nathan then in towards the Brooklands and then toward the Luffield Complex Island track, and of course his teammate Norwegian Boy not making it through qualifying 1. And Nathan got to pull something out the fire, I think, for CPI to try and get in towards his top 10.
Absolutely. I was just watching. I was on board with Hannes there, and he lost the back end coming through Copse. He was on a flyer of a lap, so he was, and just lost the back end coming through Copse. He downshifted to 7th, which I thought was interesting. A lot of drivers just take it through 8th. I myself would downshift to 7th at times as well, but the car just got away from him completely coming out of Copse. Too much speed in 7th gear there, and back end, it was a very clean spin, didn't go off the track at all, but that was a really good lap from Hannes, and sadly he's going to have to come in and replace those tyres and have a go again. But he's looking very strong there. Hannes obviously could get himself amongst that very tightly contested top 5-6 cars.
Yeah, well, his teammates up in 2nd, 25.3 currently for Silly Sly Guy, and Hannes will be hoping to get around that sort of area on his lap. We saw his pace in qualifying 1. Wouldn't be surprised to see him well up there, of course, in qualifying 2. Tony across the line for TRT. He goes 8th with a 25.6. And, of course, TRT only down to one driver as well as the team above, of course, of NFR. Am I right in saying that? Yes, Neverlast Racing. Goodness me, I need to brush up on things. But Tony, with a 25.6 behind the other green car out on track of the NFR team, and they'll be hoping to try and get a very, very good time in, given that there's only one TRT driver and he can't use his teammate for slipstream.
To be fair, no one has been seen to be using their teammates for slipstream at the moment, so again, we'll see how that changes. Especially, you expect to see, if you're going to see it, you expect to see it towards the end of Q2 here. If things are looking precarious, if you're outside that top 10, you might see it. Like, there's a good chance to do it because, again, it's a very, very clean track if you want to orchestrate that. But just haven't seen anyone really think about it yet. I thought actually the car I'm on board with now, which is the Gulf-coloured one of Luke Lear, who's better across the line, put in a 25.5, gets in the top 6 there. They were very close at the end of Q1. I thought they were going to perhaps do it, but didn't end up taking advantage of that. But they were the ones I thought were going to do it at the end of Q1, and they're both in Q2 here. His teammate Sacanato's coming around on an invalid lap. So we'll see if the team game comes through, but I haven't seen anyone looking likely to do it as of yet.
Yeah, Ciclinato just starting up on a lap, and I believe behind him might be the likes of Iwan and Hannes, who are still there on a night lap as well. But Ciclinato, though, in towards the village section, in towards the loop. Let's ride on board with them in that Gulf livery-inspired car. Now the LFR team will be hoping Ciclinato can get towards the top end of the field. He's on a set of soft compounded tyres, so this should be quick. This should be towards the top end of the field. Through the first sector, to 26, 27, I think that is, through the first sector for Ciclinato. My eyes only go so far as looking down to the steering wheel, I've got to say. So that's why I'm struggling to try and pick up on the sector times. But Ciclinato now coming through Wooker and then in towards Cops of turn number 9. Halfway through the lap then at this point, on board with Brazil, hopefully going to be hoping for a very good lap for the LFR man. His teammate Luke Lira currently up in 6th position. Is it still out on top? And he's not going to get a good lap in with that spin. Coming through Max and Beckett's, damaged the car, damaged the front wing, hard hit into the wall, and Ciclinato purely just dropped the back end, it seemed, coming to the left-hand of the entrance, I should say, of Maggots.
Massive shame, 26.8 for a sector, and his teammate was slowing down. I think they were going to slipstream. His team was slowing down at that part of the track, heading onto this hangar straight, which is where the majority of the slipstreaming would be taking place if you're going to do it. So I think they're shaping up to do a slipstream, and he didn't get there, I'm afraid.
He didn't get there, and unfortunately for him, Ciclinato now going to be coming into the pit lane, does indeed come into the pit lane just in behind. Ewan, though, on a lap, 25.8, he'll be hoping to try and improve. We saw what the Dutchman can do, comes through the line, and actually he's on an invalid lap, so that's absolutely typical. 125.8. Currently still the lap time for the E-Cost man. Of course, again, only relying on the one driver with LMN being at the session. I would say the shock of qualifying 1, him being at the session, and actually Ewan just decides to entirely cut the track.
25.6 was his time anyway, so I wouldn't have shocked the world. Would have put him about in between Felix and Tony, but just on board with Hannes as he gets himself again on a flying lap. 27.0 first sector, it seemed. Again, a little bit tentative. 102.1 for his second sector. This should put him up into the top 10 if he can complete the lap.
Hannes, yeah, he's on a lap coming in towards Stowe, and he'll be hoping to try and get a really good lap in, just runs wide slightly, but you can do that on the game. Hannes then in towards 16, 17 and 18, and be hoping to try and get towards the top end of the field. 4.5 minutes to go, Izzo on top, City Sligo second, Kierkegaard in third, Hannes goes 6th, 25.5. Good lap that from the ERT man, and he puts himself right in the mix.
Good lap to get on the board. I'm just looking at the time. About four and a bit minutes left. Get back around the track, get back into the pits, and back out again. Should have enough time. It is a slow pit lane. That's the only reason I'm kind of querying somewhat, because it's the slowest pit lane in the on the calendar. And he should be able to. If he does a flying lap in, essentially, yeah. Of course, it doesn't worry about wearing these tires out because we're not doing a race, so you shouldn't have to worry about wearing these too much to get back in a hurry.
Yeah, if he comes out the pit lane around the 1.5 minute mark, he should be absolutely fine. Well, Schmaldonado, she's just invalidated coming out the exit of Stowe, and she's into the pit lane with the 1:26.4, still on the borderline at the minute to try and improve around the likes of Tony, around the likes of Ewan. That's what she'll be hoping for.
We've got Slipstreaming is helping out his teammate Router as he comes through Stowe. First example, successful example, I think we've seen of it as he comes towards the final two corners through Vale and Club. I see how it's helped as Wouter, who's in the top four as it is, see if he can go a few steps higher. And absolutely, 25.2 for Wouter. Definitely helped by his teammate who is in second place at the moment himself.
Yeah, that's more like it, I think, from Wouter, and he's promised so much. I commentate on him in League of Europe, same with Izza as well. I commentate on these guys for Division 1 League of Europe, and Wouter and Izza have been so consistent in terms of their pace there, and it's not surprising at all to see them towards the top end in a 1 and 2 format, and being so close to each other as well. Just come to show the nature of what Relentless are trying to do with their team. They're trying to make these guys as quick as possible, and of course you've got to have the racecraft and the one-to-one willingness to do that as well. But Wouter out on top is a second, City Slide Guy in third, 2.5 minutes to go. Felix One and Nathan, I believe, are on laps as well.
I think you're going to see Izza return the favour, Wouter return the favour here. There's just ahead. Oh, he's actually backed off. That's a little bit surprising. I thought he would shape up to return the favour through the hangar straight. Never mind.
Maybe Wouter doesn't want to give Izza. There might be a little bit of inter-team rivalry going on for pole position, I think, in Q2. But, yeah, Izza is on a lap, coming through the exit of Beckett, through Chapel, and then actually ran wide on the exit of Chapel there, and now runs through these middle sector split, runs down in towards Stowe. He'd be hoping to try and get... That must have been a good first sector for him to back off. And, speaking of backing off, Izza's just backed off his lap as well.
Bit of a congestion in there coming right of the onto the Wellington straight there. A couple of cars going at it. I'm just on board with Felix here, who's put a 26.9 in sector 1, looking like a decent lap. He's on the periphery here on the top 10 as he goes through sector 2. 102 flat. This is a good time for him so far. 210 improvement so far would vault him close to the top 5, possibly within it, if he could nail this last sector.
Yeah, Nathan's just ahead of him actually out on track. That's the man I'm on board with as he now comes to the final couple of corners. Nathan then towards the line for CPI. Can he improve into the top 10? Not quite. He's on the periphery, 25.7. Felix, as you mentioned, on a lap runs the line. Goes second. How's he found that final sector? 25.2. And Felix, that is more like it from Felix. Fantastic to see one of our new teams splitting Relentless.
Good stuff there for Felix. Unassisted as well, by the way. Of course, we know Wouter had a bit of slipstream assistance from his teammate, so makes you wonder if he had the teammate help to slipstream along, what may have been possible there for Felix. Of course, there's still Q3 to come if Tony can get through.
Yeah, Mika's just backed off on his lap. Tim then in towards the final couple of corners. City Sligo goes quickest with a 1:25 from 1. He's got Kierkegaard just in front of him, Tim. He was top of Q1. Is he going to be top of Q2? Oh, yes, he will be. 25 flat from Tim. Nearly 2 tenths quicker than City Sligo. And that is how you put ERT in your place. LR are back. 25 flat from Tim. And he's currently going into the top 10 shootout.
It's looking on the outskirts of the top 10 here. 25.6 is the cut-off. A few guys on a flying lap behind, Lush Maldonado being one of them. 27 flash for her going through sector 1. Needs to find a bit more, but should be strong improvement on the 26.4 she had originally done.
Just seeing a comment from Commentators, by the way, saying, of course, Relentless when it's a qualifying pace event. I agree with that, but Tim out on top. They've got up their game of Relentless. Cyclonado, by the way, on a lap. He was on the periphery in Q1. He was well up there in terms of the pace. LFR needs to rely on him.
Tony's on a good lap here, 102 through sector 2. Close to what his teammate had done as well. Or, sorry, what Felix had done. As he heads through Vale and Club, a bit of a clout on that curb. See if it will affect his time using all the track on the outside. Just held it to 6th place.
Yeah, not a bad lap at all from the TRT man. Ciclonado now to the line. He gets a clean lap in, but it's 13th. He will not improve. So Ciclonado, one of the first confirmed out. Welsh Maldonado, she's now coming to the line. Does she improve? Yes, to 13, 25.9. And that is how close it is. Kierkegaard goes second with a 25.1. Looks like IFR will get at least one driver in. There's Stefano on a lap. Ewan and the likes of Nathan are on laps as well. Ewan's coming through the final corner to the line. He goes 8th, so he's on the periphery, 25.4. That is not not good enough, I don't think. Hannah's now round the final corner. He comes to the line. Is he going to improve? Yes, he goes quickest in the first 24 of the night, and that is how you make your statement. Hannah's out on top. Tim in second. It's only Nathan that can improve. Nathan is coming through the exit of Chapel on the run down and toward the end of the middle sector, and it's a 1:14.7 I make the lads. He is not on a good lap. I think he's invalid on this lap. It's only Stefano then who actually has just got up into 9th and makes it into the top 10 shootout. Nathan is done. He's into the pit lane. That's the end of Q2. It's Hannah's out on top. Tim in second. Kierkegaard in third. It looks as if the rivalry, as I said with Relentless, looks like it's actually between ERT and LR.
24.9 will really make everyone think that is the best time of the day so far. First into the 24s, and it's just breaking that mental barrier, isn't it? Just to get into the 24s. You'll know it's possible now. Only the drivers will know if they have that in hand as well. Could they have gone quicker than a 25 flat, a 25-1? But Hannah setting the gauntlet down to get in Q2 here.
Yeah, well, we saw with Tim it was a 25 flat, and I believe, actually, he is only 1,000th off his time in Q1. That is how consistent Tim actually is in terms of his lap time. But as you say, Tanner's out on top, Tim in second, Kierkegaard there in third. IFR coming alive with the Academy driver, and let's have a rundown of who's actually made it through into the top 10 shootout, and we'll see, of course, in terms of the point system, how that affects things as well. But Hannah is out on top, the German, from Tim in second, Kierkegaard in third, 400ths of a second, by the way, separating top first to second, and then looking down the field, you've got 4 10 separating the top 10, which is absolutely remarkable. Kierkegaard in third, Silly Sligo in fourth, Mika there in fifth, Ruta in sixth, Felix in seventh, Isra in eighth, Stefano in ninth, and Tony Perillo in 10th. The sole remaining TRT and LFR drivers actually get in, and, sorry, not the LFR man, of course, NFR, I should say, Felix. But rest of the guys represented have 2 drivers within them, and the only 2 that haven't, Felix and Tony, representing their individual teams.
Looking good for some good team points if they can piece it together here in Q3. About 600s or so was what Iwana missed out on in the end, as Stefano at the death kind of came through there. We caught up sort of blindsided somewhat by his close approach, but just about squeezed through there.
Yeah, just about squeezed through, and it comes to show, as this qualifying session has gone on, and we get in towards the final part of qualifying as well, it just comes to show everyone's beginning now to up their game. All the teams are beginning to up their game, which is absolutely fantastic to see. And if it sets the tone for EML to come, of course, the calendar I'll announce at the end of the at the end of the session, I should say, it should set ourselves up for a really, really good session. Ewan has left; he's not in towards the top 10. But Q3 has now begun again, qualifying in the dry, and the first cars are about to embark on their qualifying laps.
So confused by, obviously we know how tight it was, and to see Ciclonado go on mediums to start, Q2 ended up being one that was knocked out, just as some cars, as LMN shared that fate in Q1. It was just a bit puzzling, but regardless, we move forward. City Sly Guy is going to be our first man on track here.
Yeah, I think looking with the times, obviously, with Ciclonado, I don't think he would have got into the top 10 anyways. He was on a set of soft compounded tyres and got outgunned by drivers that purely were better than them on the night. But top 10 shootout now underway. Everyone now coming out for their outlaps once again. And this could be quite fascinating. If we are not seeing these guys within 2.5 tenths of a second, then I think everyone's going to riot in the comment section.
You can see the flying formation already. 2 ERT cars out the front, the 2 REL cars pretty close together as well. I think actually Kierkegaard's actually just bumped up between the 2 REL cars, but we're going to see a lot more gamesmanship, I believe, here in Q3 if this opening formation lap, so to speak, is anything to go by.
Yeah, Slipstream is going to cost you. If you don't get Slipstream on your lap and you run individually like Tony's probably doing, he just came out of the pit lane there, he's going to be running by himself. Everyone else is going to look to get some sort of Slipstream. If they get some sort of Slipstream out on track, you would imagine that the Slipstream is going to be the difference between pole position and maybe even ending up in 10th position.
Possibly. See, you can do it best. Felix also shares that on his own as well. unless the 2 green cars want to help each other out here. Unlikely.
Yeah, but maybe chumming that in Irish, maybe? I'm thinking with the green? I don't know. Silly Sly Guy on a lap then. Down in towards turn number 1, and now coming through farm, and then in towards village at turn number 3. And Silly Sly Guy, one of the top guys so far in this qualifying session, in this qualifying night, looking to put ERT on nose for 10th of a second on your lap. And he did that to great effect, I think. Down in towards Magnus and Beckett's now, on board with Silly Sly Guy. The only man out there on that lap still is Tony. He's just started on his lap there. Silly Sly Guy, though, through Chapel, onto the end of the middle sector to 102.2 through the middle sector. So we're seeing same lap times being set by these guys so far in terms of the sector splits. But what is Silly Sly Guy going to do? He misses the apex coming through Stowe on the entrance. Nice on the exit, but that's cost him time. In towards the Vale and Club section. Out on track through 16, 17, and then in towards turn 18 at Club. Now to the line. He will go quick as it's 25.1. Not a bad lap whatsoever. What's everyone else doing though in behind?
Hannes was up 2/10 up on going through sector 2 to the 102 flash, and couldn't displace his teammate. One of the REL cars had an off though. It looks like it was Izza. Heading on to the hangar straight there, so no lap time for him off the bat. His teammate 25.2 into third place, so it's not really threatening their Q2 times so far here to begin the session.
Not at the minute, but Tim is coming through the final corner, and he might be on a stonker of a lap. Tim then towards the line. There you go, 25 flat. He was on a stonker of a lap, but not in the 24 fold as we saw in qualifying 2. But as the session progresses and as this track dries out entirely in terms of the track temperature and everything like that, the times will get quicker. I wouldn't be surprised if we see a mid 24 towards the end of the session, and I'm really gambling that quite a lot.
Wow, that would be quite a surprise. I'm just blown away by the consistency of Tim through these 3 sessions. It truly is quite remarkable, isn't it?
Oh, Stefano's lost it coming out of Cops. Well recovered. How's he kept that one out on track? And he reset or lagged there. I don't know what it was, but whatever happened there, if he recovered that on his own accord, that was a brilliant recovery by the IFR man.
Couple of close scrapes for people coming out of Cops. Only just the one incident that ended up into a DNF, but I think Izza is gone for another run here on these softs.
He doesn't look happy.
Oh.
He doesn't look happy. To 102.2 in the middle sector, but that Maggots and Beckett section was so out of the ordinary. Either he's changed something in his setup, maybe, or the tyres have just purely shot after he ran onto the grass, obviously, and made that mistake. Izza then into the pit lane, and I think rightfully so. 150 feet flat is not entirely his pace whatsoever. He will go a lot quicker than that, around the 25 mark. But Izza, one of those guys that should be towards the top end of the field, isn't at the minute, and it might just be that little mistake that he had on his first lap has just knocked his confidence a little bit.
Possibly that. Possibly the tyres, like you say, may have been just shot after going through such a high-speed spin, obviously coming out of I believe it was coming onto that hangar straight to begin with on that first flying lap, and he validated going through that section. You can see the understeer he was going through. So I imagine a mix of confidence being a bit shot, and just some very dodgy tyres. He'd be very happy to put on a set of the new set of the soft compound tyres if he has them available to him. But because now everyone else has got a solid. Apart from 2 IFRA guys who haven't got a representative time, everyone else has a solid enough banker, and obviously if you're in the top 3, a little bit more than solid. So I wonder if will he come out a bit earlier, a bit free track possibly, and just try and get something on the board with minimal distractions. Either way, not an ideal build-up for the final runs coming up soon here.
Yeah, there's definitely movement in one of the garages at least. It looks like it's the Relentless garage. It looks like it might be Rooter coming out of the pit lane. And he'll be hoping, of course, to try and get toward the top end of the field. There is Izza that is coming out of the pit lane. See, you're right, he is going to come out early. Looks like one of the ERT drivers, I think that is. Might be Hannes coming out of the pit lane as well. Coming out, and it's actually Silly Sly Guy, so that's absolutely typical. I say the wrong ERT man, out on track. But Izza, interestingly, actually, Silly Sly Guy let Izza through. So I wonder if there's going to be a little bit of slipstreaming in different teams here, with Silly Sly Guy obviously choosing to go behind Izza. Izza, I would imagine, will then try and go behind Silly Sly Guy, so there might be a little bit of a game of cat and mouse maybe in terms of the slipstream here.
I think we're going to try and time it somewhat here. You can see the other ERT car coming out now with Hannah's going into pit lane, so that Silly Sly Guy will complete his. Essentially, there's the time left as well, plenty of time to do, a run or two. Silly Sly Guy will complete his lap first, and then when Hannah is doing his flying lap, I imagine the idea or the hope is that he'll catch him just around either the Hangar Straight, or sometimes you can see it down the Wellington Straight as well. But I imagine it's the way they've sent them out here is deliberate, that when one's on an out lap, or a slow lap, so to speak, one is flying along. So we'll see how that kind of goes back and forth, like I say, cat and mousey between teammates. So, he's off already, the Silly Sly Guy.
He is off already. I just saw that in the background, a shot coming out of Beckett, and Silly Sly Guy already off, so it seems like he might be... As he actually waiting up for his teammate, maybe? Oh no, Hannes is on the other side of the track. Silly Sly Guy then under pressure already, I would say, on this lap. Isabel coming through the final corner, and this is now the time where these lap times have got to be put in. 3 minutes ago in the session, this is game time. These guys have got to get their game faces on if they haven't already. Tim out on top, Silly Sly Guy second, Hannes in third at the minute. Izza coming through turn 3 at Village, in towards turn 4. Silly Sly Guy on a lap and behind as well. Stefano just starting one as well, but Izza got to put in a good lap here. Coming out of entry, down the Wellington Straight. We'll see his first sector splits around the 27 mark. He should be on for a good lap. And it is, it's sub 27, it's 26.9 I think that is, through the first sector from Izza, so well improved in terms of the first sector. Coming now through Luffield, on the run through Woodcut, but again, that back end just kicking out. Something has definitely been changed in his setup, I think, from transitioning to Q2 to Q3, because that car looks very unstable and he backs out of his lap, I think, rightfully so.
Possibly confidence may not be at an all-time high. You'll plenty of time to recover some ERS and go for another lap. You want a Silly Sly Guy behind him, coming through cops, bit cleaner this time. See if he can get through this section. Oh, he's backed off. Backing off. His lap was valid, was Silly Sly Guy, but he is backing off.
He is backing off. I think he realises the time that's left in the session, and he realises that Stefano was behind him as well, and Stefano, rightfully so, Silly Sly Guy gets out of the way. Stefano through the end of the middle sector to 1-2-2. Through the middle sector, and now Stefano, the IFR man, have got to put it on the line here. Kokegaard, of course, third in Q2. Stefano's got to channel that from his Danish teammate. Tim, though, out on top, so he's like I second. Hannes in third. Stefano, though, through the final couple of corners. It looks like he had a little bit of snap of oversteer at the final corner to the line. Not a bad lap at all.
We're on a good lap here with Hannes. 101.8 through Sector 2, 26.8 Sector 1. This could be 24 territory if he can nail this final sector. No assistance with any slipstream. Is all on merit. We saw how quick he was in Q2. Let's see if he can complete it.
Yeah, let's run on board with him then. Coming out through the final couple of corners, through club for the final time on his lap, and it's a 24.9 from Hannes. But I have a feeling that Tim is probably going to go quicker than him. He was looking good in the first sector, coming through Beckett, and we'll see in terms of his improvement how he's going to see in this middle sector. That was absolutely nailed on perfect, and it's a 101.9 in the middle sector, so he's probably about a 10th off Hannes' time, but Tim has got to put it towards the top end of the field here. Hannes, with 45 seconds to go, still out on top. ERT currently first and third. They're currently getting 38 points out on track. LR currently second and seventh. They're only getting, less than 38 points. Tim is now coming through club corner to the line. Doesn't improve into second position. He improves on this lap time. Doesn't improve his position. That might be costly.
I was just looking at the time. 5,000's the difference between Hannes' Q2 and Q3 time so far. Fantastic stuff.
Absolutely unreal. 24.9 currently the time to beat, but is anyone going to try and stake it on the line? Stefano on a good lap here, coming through the final corner for the IFR team, comes across the line, doesn't improve on his lap. Felix 1 now, coming across the line for his team. The only driver goes fourth with a 125.1. Izza not going to be improving, so Relentless down in ninth position at least. Wouter on a lap coming through the first sector. Stefano on a lap as well. Mika for LR. What is he going to do? Is Tim responding as well in that middle sector?
His lap is invalid, so whatever improvements he has, it won't be counting.
Yeah, no improvements at all from LRTV, so it looks like Hannes might have this one, unless somebody can try and stake a claim very late on in the session. Speaking of staking a claim, Kierkegaard just goes third with the ER4 Academy team, 25.1. Mika then, in towards the final couple of corners. Can the LR man do it? He's got to put everything on the line here as he now comes through the final corner, through club corner for the final time. Mika to the line, and he goes second, and he's 7 thousandths of a second off the back of Hannes. Tim not improving. What's Ruta doing on his lap? The relentless man. Can he stake a claim to try and get the top spot? 25.2 at the minute. Stefano and Tony also on laps as well. Tony goes 7th. Ruta to line. Doesn't improve. Stefano, I don't think, is improving either. We'll run above them nonetheless. The IFR man now got to try and stake his claim. 0.3 of a second. Less than that. Covering the top 9. Izza's lap obviously don't record that whatsoever. Stefano with a 25.2, spins across the line, doesn't improve. And that was the end of qualifying. Hannes out on top. LR second and third with Mika and Tim. My word, what an ending to that. And 7 thousandths of a second separating the top 2.
So close. Look at the sector times here. It is so tight. It was the difference of, I think it was 16 thousandths in sector 3 in favour of Hannes that saw him through, that kept him through ahead of Mika, and they're 1,000 separating their sector 2 times, 34.979, and about 100 separating them through sector 1. It was so close throughout the entire lap, so close. Fantastic stuff to see.
And look at that, the top 3 separated by 64 hundredths of a second. You cannot get really any closer than that in Silverstone qualifying. It's Hannes out on top, Mika in second, Tim in third, Kierkegaard in fourth, City Sligo and Felix, by the way, set the same lap time in fifth and sixth. Really good going from them. Tony for TRT in seventh, Relentless Ruta in eighth, Stefano for IFR Academy in ninth, and Izza, of course, for Relentless in the top 10. I'm sure the points will get tallied up as the event goes on. But it looks as if we've got that age-old rivalry maybe going forward in EML. ERT and LR have staked their claim. IFR also with Kierkegaard, very impressive indeed. Relentless in the early stages of qualifying as well. If that's anything to go by, Graham, we are in for a great season in EML.
Absolutely. The challenge has been thrown, and I can't wait to see the flag drop and the qualifying to stop and the races to begin.
And of course, you've got to think that the action's not even done yet. We are going to be handing over, of course, to Aidan Carter and LR Brendan in just a little while. And fantastic, I think, for everyone to tune in. 50 viewers. I saw 60 viewers at any one time as well. Ignore your screens, by the way, if you're seeing this. 5 laps were not going with a 5-lap race. But fantastic, of course, to have a great session out on track, and I couldn't get any closer than that. 7 thousandths of a second. ERC and LR staking that claim towards the top end of the field. Graham, I will come across to you. I will award you either driver of the day or team of the day. Who are you going for?
Ooh, driver. I think Mika to make an improvement like that through. I think he did a 25.2 in Q2 to make that an improvement heading into Q3 was really impressive, but honestly, you could pick a bunch of guys like Hannes, 2 24s. Tim was so consistent throughout the entire event. That's a tough one to put me on the spot there, James.
I always like putting my comms on a spot. You should know that by now in any stream that I do here, of course, on League Racing TV. But yeah, I have to agree with you. Mika, an absolute great debut, and his debut for LR as well. So that's even more impressive. Staking your claim like that, a little-known driver, to be honest, when joining LR, and coming out with a performance like that, I've got to say he might be one of the future guys to watch out for in EML. And, of course, well done to ERT. Hannes, of course, looks an absolute force as well. But we'll get ourselves offline, and we'll hand you over, of course, to Aidan Carter and Brendan, who will join us shortly in our party that we are in. But Lobby 2 action still to come. If that hasn't whetted your appetite for more, then I don't know what has. Go and grab a cup of tea. Go and grab some crisps. Go and grab some popcorn. Anything, to be honest. And join us back in about 10 or 15 minutes or so for Lobby 2. But until then, of course, I've been James Head. He's been Graham Chapple. Thank you so much for watching our section, Lobby 1. And until next time, goodbye.
Goodbye.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to the League Racing TV YouTube channel for the second part of the EML qualifying session for the Season 2 of EML. My name is Aidan Carter, otherwise known as Carmentalist. I'll be taking you through proceedings in the second lobby, taking over from James Head and Graham Chapple, who of course did a brilliant job with Lobby 1. And joining me in the lobby tonight, co-commentating alongside me, will be Brendan White. Brendan, how are you doing this evening?
I am doing very good. And yourself?
Yeah, I'm doing very well, thank you. Looking forward to EML. It's been a while. It's been a few months since we've had EML action, but we're back into it once again, and it's great to see that so many people are so interested in watching the stream, having 60 viewers watching the stream earlier on, which was absolutely amazing to see. And just a quick announcement as well, alongside that, League Racing TV has just hit, in the past couple of minutes, 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. So thank you so much to all the people that got us to that position as well. I think we started off with somewhere around 980 at the start of the stream, and we've got right up to 1,000. So thank you so much to everyone who has subscribed. We've hit that 1K marker, which is amazing to see. It's coming into, obviously, Lobby 2 for qualifying now, and it was a fairly interesting Lobby 1 session in the end. It was a real mixed bag of teams at the front of the field. We'll just run you through quickly what the provisional standings are. Of course, take these with a pinch of salt. We haven't quite double-checked and triple-checked them yet, but after the first round of the qualifying sessions, it is LR at the top of the standings at the moment with 37 points. They are 1 point ahead of ERT with 36. IFR's Academy team are third on 29, with Relentless in fourth on 24. Neverlast Racing are on 17 at the moment in fifth, ahead of LFR on 15. TRT are on 14, ahead of COS. CPI and eSports Wales rounds off the 10 teams at the moment in the standings. So that is who we have got in the point system so far. I don't know if you tuned into the first lobby, Brendan, but who impressed you in the first lobby?
I wasn't able to see much of it because I didn't have time. I was only able to get here for now. But I do know some of the people who were in the lobby, and I have to say, well, obviously I'm part of LR, and they did fairly well for themselves now in the lead. So it would be fairly interesting now to see what will happen in this second lobby, whether it will upset some of the results of the first lobby.
Yeah, definitely interesting to see, of course, how it runs tonight. We are having 4 drivers across the 2 lobbies, so we do have 2 new drivers in for the second lobby. So we'll quickly run you through who will be running for each team in this second lobby. So for ERT, we've got ERT Khalifa and ERT Josh. They'll be taking us through the proceedings for them. IFR have got Peas and Dara in their car. Mr. Pop and Lynx are racing for TRT, ahead of Yagizan and Vrez, I believe, who are running for Leonis. Running in the next team, which is Ecos, they are running Miltos and Herald. Esports Wales are running Colin Mason and Ivor Bryn Mike. LFR are running Jaum and Deniz. It's Absi and Jaruf, I believe, if that is pronounced correctly, running for Neverlast. CPI are running Hida, and they're running Kolakilla. And Relentless are running Nathan and I believe Coxey, who is in for Mark today. Of course, each team, apart from Ecos, I believe, do have a reserve driver waiting for them as well. So we'll see if any of those pop in. So obviously, you're part of LR. You know a few of those drivers there. Is there anyone there in that lineup that stands out to you?
Yes, well, I do know some of the drivers. Obviously, even not including LR, I would know. I'm afraid Dara, who seems to be a quick enough driver, but I don't really know some of the others in terms of what their pace is. And but I would say that most of these guys, it'll be a fairly close qualifying session.
Yeah, definitely will be a close qualifying session. It was a really close qualifying session in the first round. I believe it was only about 0.3 of a second covering the top 8 or so in qualifying. So it was a very, very close Lobby 1. So Lobby 2, we're hoping for much of the same. Of course, we've got qualifying getting ready then. Everyone is now readying up for the start of qualifying. So we've got our 30-second countdown on, which means we shall get qualifying underway. Here we go then for Lobby 2's qualifying session around the Silverstone International Circuit. Of course, the qualifying for the second season of EML. Silverstone, obviously 18 corners around the circuit, quite a long circuit as well, so it's going to be fairly difficult for these drivers to master. Here are your 3 tyre compounds for today, the C3, the C2 and the C1. The C1 not available in qualifying, so we've seen the mediums and the soft compound tyres, harder compounds for Silverstone as well, just to make it that little bit more difficult. Of course, so many iconic corners around this circuit, Maggots and Beckett's, Cops as well. Here was your track layout for today. Like I said, 18 corners, one of the longest tracks in terms of distance on the calendar, has 2 DRS zones down the Hangar and the Wellington Straight. 18 corners, a little bit of elevation change, but not too much. Stowe, probably one of the corners with the highest elevation change. That is your brief run through of the Silverstone circuit. We are getting ready then for qualifying. We have just started the qualifying session, so we'll wait and see who will be out onto the circuit first. And I believe it's eSports Wales' Colin R. Mason who is the first driver out onto the track. So we'll see what he can do. eSports Wales currently at the bottom of the standings on just 12 points, so they'll be hoping for a bit of a better qualifying this time around. And of course, with the 3 qualifying sessions that we've got, remember, is a full qualifying session, so we'll have an 18-minute session followed by a 15 and a 12-minute session. That means that there's going to be some sort of element of tyre strategy involved in this one, isn't there, Brendan? Some drivers are going to have to try and save tyres throughout these 3 qualifying sessions.
Well, indeed. Some people might gamble on a medium tyre to get them through maybe Q1, and then, or maybe even use one of the medium tyres in either Q1 or Q2 just to save a set of softs for pretty much that last run that you need. But the only thing is, you don't have a race, so that means if you feel like you need to throw an extra set of softs on to make it through, then you can without too much worry.
Yeah, like you say, not too much of a worry that these drivers are going to have to use these tyres in a race setting, so they can burn them out if they need to. Of course, though, running more than one lap on a set of tyres will tend to burn them out, so you've got to be careful about that. We're going to ride on board, though, with Colin Mason. He's going to be the first person to take us through a lap around Silverstone as he heads down the new named Hamilton Straight and in towards turn 1 at Abbey, easily flat through there, easily flat as well through Farm, and up in towards the first braking zone of turn 3 at Village, down into 3rd gear, and into the loop for the hairpin turn number 2. The slowest corner on the track as he heads out of the loop and through Aintree, another easily flat corner, and down the Wellington Straight. The first proper overtaking opportunity on the track, the first DRS zone on the track as well. As you head in towards Brooklands, it tightens up on the exit of the corner, and then in towards Luffield, one of the longer corners on the track. Incredibly easy to lose the rear of the car on traction here. Colin Mason not quite using all of the road on the exit, but is the first lap in the session through Woodcote, another easily flat corner, and in towards Cops. On the last game, at least, it was easily flat. This game, it's kind of right on the bubble, the curbs as well, obviously making it a little bit more difficult this time around. In towards Maggots and Beckett's, then this famous complex of corners that has been copied by so many other tracks across the globe as he heads through Beckett's and in through Chapel, another easily flat corner, and onto the Hangar Straight, then the longest straight on the circuit, and then it's an uphill braking zone for Stowe, means you can brake just a little bit later for this corner, just past the 50-metre board there for Colin Mason as he hits the brakes, tightens a bit on exit once again, and down into the last 3 corners of the track, 16, 17 and 18, through the Vale and Club Chicane. The double apex of Club, but was one singular corner, is now 2 apexes, and then up towards the line. The first time in the session for Colin Mason is a 25.7, I believe the first time in Q1 last time out was set by Rauter, which is a 25.5, so it's fairly close, and Yagizan goes right to the top for LR on a 25.5 himself, so he jumps to the front of the field. Ivor Brim Might with a 26.8, not quite the best representative time for him at the start of the session, but there is still a long way to go. But Yagizan, the LR driver, up to the front of the field. We would be expecting, though, people dipping quite into the low 25s by the end of the session.
Well, obviously the track has to be a bit greenish, as it's only to start Q1. By the time we even get to the end of Q1 times, we'll have we'll drop down as the track ramps up.
Yeah, as the track ramps up, yeah, definitely. We're just noticing as well, a few drivers out on medium tyres. Oh, we've got a spinner, I think, further down the field. I didn't quite see who that was.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. I just saw somebody going around. It might have been ERT Khalifa.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Yeah, yellow flag in the final sector. I think it was Khalifa. He might have been backing off just to start his lap. Just seeing as well, I've obviously put the tyre graphics up on the screen for you guys. Almost everybody at the moment out on a set of medium compound tyres. In fact, Yagazan, Colin Mason, Ivor Brimike and Miltos are the only drivers apart from Hide and Giroff as well that are on the softs. Every other driver in the field at the moment is on the medium compound tyres. So they're doing kind of exactly what you were mentioning earlier on and using the set of mediums in the first part of qualifying so they don't use 2 sets of softs in this first part.
Well, yeah, that would be the plan for well, the good few drivers, because if you have the extra set of softs in well, Q2, or even if you make a mistake in the mediums, it won't be like making a mistake in the softs where you might ruin that set, and you won't have that extra option in a future session. Well, session, well, not too distant future, like Q2, Q3, and that could be the difference between maybe getting into Q3 or even just any positional improvement.
Yeah, it can definitely be the difference. Fastest medium time at the moment is Nathan on a 25.9. Mr. Popper's gone just behind him on a 26 flat. They're currently 3rd and 4th. Jaruf has just gone into P5 on a 26.1. We're just riding with Ps at the moment. One driver who would expect to be right at the front of this field, IFR, currently sitting 3rd in the point standings after the first lobby, so they're comfortably in at the moment to being in lobby 1, in being in League 1, sorry, for the EML season coming up as he comes around the final 2 corners. P's then on the medium tyres, crosses the line. He goes 100th of a second behind Nathan. Once again, incredibly close. He goes into P4 for the time being. Khalifa has gone P7 on the medium compound tyres as well. So ERT once again right up there at the moment. IFR up there, Relentless up there at the moment, but it is LR, our current leaders, who sit on the provisional polls time at the moment. Of course, this is only for Q1, so this won't count as the final standings at the end of the run. We've got Daniel Musso, who's running on a lap at the moment. He's coming up towards the Vale and Club chicane. He is also on the medium compound tyres as he heads through Vale and now in towards Club Corner. Nice and neat on the exit of the corner. Don't want to use too much of that curb on the outside. You can lose the rear of the car. He crosses the line, goes P7 on a 26.2. So at the moment, the medium compound runners, most of them sitting inside the top 10 at the moment, the lowest of them being Coxey at the moment, sitting in 10th place on a 26.4. You would imagine, though, that the cut-off time is probably going to be somewhere around the high 25s where we're seeing Nathan and P sit at the moment.
Well, we still have about 4 drivers to set a lap time now, as there is some yellow flags, presumably someone just letting another car through.
Yeah, I think that might have been Dara actually running a little bit slow down the back straight. He was backing off quite a lot before his run. I think he may have invalidated his first time and is going again on the same set of medium compound tyres. So he's coming through Club now just to start his next lap in the session. Hiddy's currently on a lap at the moment. He's on the softs, one of the only drivers we've seen at the moment on the soft compound tyres. We'll see where he can go. Can he get himself right to the front of the field as he heads down the hanger straight and up towards the end of the lap then. Up through Stowe Corner. Hits the brakes very, very late. Misses the apex just a little bit. Gets quite a lot of mid-corner understeer, but keeps it on the track and keeps it valid on the exit of the corner up towards the Vale and Club chicane. Doesn't quite hit the apex again for the inside of Vale. Club not too worried about hitting the apex there. It's not too crucial as he heads up towards the line. He goes P2 on a 25.6, a solid lap time, but still not quite as fast as Yagazan, who still holds the fastest time of the session so far. We've got a little bit of a dip now as everyone comes in to replace their tyres, getting ready for their second runs in the session. We have seen a couple of drivers do a couple of laps on their medium compound tyres. Josh, one of those who's managed to get inside the top 10 on his second lap on that same set of tyres. Dara in the IFR car coming through Maggots at Beckett's right now, looking nice and hooked up. Good change of direction there through the second part of Beckett's, keeping it to the left hand side as he runs through Chapel. I think that is about a 1 minute 2.6 if I can see on the dash correctly as he heads up towards the Stowe Corner. This could be right up there into the 25s if he can nail the lap. A little bit of understeer again through Stowe, but that seems to be the way that it's going for a lot of these drivers at the moment as he heads through the Vale and Club chicane using a lot of that sausage curb on the inside. And up towards the line comes Dara, crosses the line. He does go P4 and the fastest of the medium runners so far on a 25.8, a 10th clear of Nathan, who is currently saying that he's on the wet compound tyres, but I highly doubt that he's going to go out onto the track on that compound. But Dara, 25.8 on the mediums, possibly could be enough to see him through maybe.
Yeah, a 25.8, and that is less than a tenth of Colin, who is on the soft tyre. So that would be a very good showing of pace for Dara. And well, provided there isn't a massive massive track evolution, and in the next few minutes, I think he should be safe to get into Q2. Maybe even on a medium tyre.
Yeah, definitely could be possible. Daniel Musso, though, has just gone into P3 on his third lap on that set of medium compound tyres, so the 25.7. So just as we're talking about Dara's great lap, Daniel's gone even faster. So that's a brilliant lap time from him. He jumps up into third place, and we'll see if he can see himself through the session on that compound of tyre. Colin Mason is on another run at the moment on his next lap on a new set of soft compound tyres, if I'm not mistaken. They've said they've done 0 laps so far, which means I do think they are a brand new set of softs as he heads through the Vale and Club Chicane. He's still got quite a bit of time to go in the session. He wants to get the time in as early as he can, and he goes fastest at the 25.5, finds just about 0.2 of a second, goes to the top of the timesheets, and that just goes to prove that the track is ramping up and getting faster and faster, as his teammate Ivor Bryn Mike is on a lap at the moment as well, currently sitting in 10th place on a 26.5, and in fact he's just dived into the pit lane, so not quite able to match the speed of his eSports Wales teammate so far. At the moment, looking through this session, we've got a few drivers out on laps at the moment, a bit further down the field at the moment. Brendan, is there anyone in your eyes that's maybe sitting just a little bit out of position at the moment?
Well, from what I'd see, I am surprised with some of the medium times here by some people, and it seems like the mediums are a bit closer to the soft tyres than I thought they would be. So generally, a lot of people would seem to be a little bit closer to the soft runners than I thought would be possible.
Yeah, it does seem like that. It did seem like that as well in Lobby 1, actually, that the gap between the softs and the mediums wasn't that big. On the last game especially, it was quite a hefty chunk of time that you could lose on the mediums. This time around, doesn't seem to be as bad. Absi is currently on a lap on a 26.4. He crosses the line. He now goes fastest on a 25.4, so he's managed to find a second's worth of lap time between the medium and the soft compound tyres. So he now jumps up to the front of the field. Only one driver without a time in the session at the moment, and that's Herald. Both Ecos drivers at the moment currently sitting 19th and 20th. They're right on the bubble at the moment of making it into League One for the next season. So they really need a strong qualifying result this time around if they want to put themselves in that crucial top 5 at the end of this run. Herald then coming up towards the end of his lap through Stowe Corner, and then coming towards the Vale and Club Chicane. Where can he put that car? It's his first run, I believe, in the session on the soft compound tyres. Around the final 2 corners he comes then, currently sitting without a time in 20th position. He crosses the line and he goes fastest with a 25.1. That's a brilliant lap time from Herald. That is much more like it, right to the top of the timesheets, and that is more like what we were seeing pace-wise from the front of the field in the previous lobby. So 25.1, that's a good marker for everybody else to go and try and beat.
Well, just under 5 minutes left. We and some people saying lap times. Really, some people doing multiple laps on tires. Even some people doing 3 laps on the softs, which is surprising. But then again, I guess if you just go to ones like the tyre isn't usually that bad around Silverstone. A one stop is usually very common, so that means in quality you can do a second lap, and in this case a third lap on the same tyre in qualifying.
Yeah, definitely looks like that at the moment, riding with Josh as he comes to the end of his lap at the moment. ERT currently sitting down in 17th and 19th, but Khalifa has just gone 5th fastest on the 25.5. Josh around the final corner, he crosses the line and he now goes into 5th on the 25.5, just 7 thousandths clear of his teammates. And the 2 ERT drivers once again at the front of the field. They currently sit 2nd in the provisional points, just a single point behind LR as it stands. Everyone in the top 9 has done their run on the soft compound tyres. They're split by just under half a second. Herald down to Coxey in 9th place. We've still got a few people yet to really set representative times. Deniz has just started a lap on the soft compound tyres. Jaruf has just started a lap as well on a fresh set of soft compound tyres. We'll see what they are able to pump in. I think Mr. Pop may still be out there on the medium compound tyres, and he is currently on a 25.7, but clearly Mr. Pop desperately trying to get through on a set of mediums without using a set of softs.
Well, I guess good luck to him if he's trying, but that fuel symbol is showing, and I don't know if that fuel is going to run out or not by the time he needs to, well, try to finish the lap. At the moment, I don't think he's gaining any time, as that is a retirement to the pit lane, I believe, for Absy.
I believe it is, yeah, Absy retiring in the pit lane. I'm sure that then he believes that the 25.4 he has set is enough to get him through the session. Yagazan has just crossed the line, but I don't think he improved on his time. I know he did improve on his time, but it's a 25.5, so he's gone back up into P4 for the time being on his second lap on that set of tyres. Pretty much everyone then below the top 10 is coming out onto the track on a new set of tyres, and everyone that's currently in the top 10 I don't think will quite have enough time to do another lap. The ERT drivers definitely won't have enough time to do another lap in the session, so they are solid in 6th and 7th, and Khalifa, just to prove that, retires in the pit lane. Hiddy and Cox is still waiting in the pit C. If they go on another lap, we'll ride a bit further down. Diniz did set a time, but it's only a 25.8, so he's not quite able to get himself out of that danger zone for the time being. Currently sitting 14th. Remember, people from 16th down are the ones that get knocked out in the session, currently in that bottom. We have got one of the IFR drivers in Peas. Remember, they're third at the moment. Peas desperately needs to get out of that bottom 5 at the moment. He's coming towards the end of his first run on the soft compound tyres. Where can he put that IFR car? His IFR teammate Dara is also on a lap. He's up towards the line, goes from 16th up to 3rd with a 25.4, solid lap time right up there at the front of the field, but still no one at the moment able to quite challenge Harold's time of a 25.1. We'll ride with Dara as well, and then currently 14th at the moment. Coming to the end of the first sector, we'll see what his first sector time is looking like as he comes through the timing banner, but I don't know if he's on a push lap, and I don't think he is. That flashing light on the back of his car suggests that he's not running in hot lap mode, so I don't think Dara is on a run at the moment. See, he's leaving it right up to chance with his final run on the same set of soft compound tyres.
Well, it won't take much out of them tyres, so I don't think it'll make that much of a difference. However, I'll have to wonder now, a lot of people have set lap times on the softs by now, so it's now become clear that the mediums were just used for a banker in this session, and nobody really is going to try go through in the mediums, and I don't think anyone would be wanting to take that gamble.
Yeah, definitely don't think they would either. Currently the fastest person that's still got that time on the mediums is Daniel Musa, but he's already down to 13th and he's out on a set of softs, so I think that just proves that it's right on the cusp of whether you can make it through, and at the moment I don't think anyone wants to take that risk, like you mentioned. And he's improved on his second lap on the same set of tyres. He's gone up into 11th place, so that leaves him a little bit safer than he was. It knocks Coxey down to 12th. He's still got its collar killer at the moment for CPI, who is currently right on the bubble. Dara is in the drop zone at the moment, and he's just started his final run with 10 seconds to go. Jaruf has crossed the line.
Oh, he's got a spinner.
That's
Peas. I thought I did. Oh,
that Peas that spun. I think was that Peas that spun, or I think that might have been Peas actually retiring in the pit lane. Apologies. We do have a spinner somewhere though on the track.
I thought. Well, there was a spinner, but I thought there was a glitch or something in this game where I thought Daniel Musso had crashed into the wall, but it turns out it hadn't. It seems to be an odd glitch, as actually it was P2, so not a bad time, and should be enough to, well, that keeps sends him through to Q2.
Yeah, Miltos crosses the line as well for Recos, goes 13th fastest, so gets himself out of danger for the time being. Another improvement there from Jaume, crosses the line, goes to P12. That's put Coxey on the bubble at the moment, and Dara is the only one that can improve. He's on the grass though, coming through Chapel. He's really on the limit at the moment. He's really got to find some time in this final sector if he wants to get himself out of the drop zone. Currently it's Iverbrin Mike sitting in 20th place ahead of Jaruf. Dara currently sits 18th, but he needs to improve. Coxey is on a lap himself as well to try and get himself out of the danger zone. He is just behind Dara on the road. Dara then around the final two corners and up towards the line. Can he get himself into the top 10? Yes, he can. He goes P7, so he's out of the danger zone. It's currently Coxey then 16th, but he improves, I believe. He does improve and he goes 10th, so he's now taken himself out of danger zone, and I believe it is just Jaruf who's the only person who can now set a lap time. He is coming through the first sector right now. He is currently on a lap. We'll see what he can do as he heads into Brooklands, but I don't actually think is in control of that car. I think that might be the session over and done with for him. We'll wait and see, but it's not looking like it is on pace. So if that is the case, we've got our first 5 knockouts from the qualifying session. It is Ivor Brim Mike, Jaruf, Collar Killer, Mr. Pop and Miltos are the 5 drivers that have been knocked out of qualifying in the first round. Ivor Brim Mike then will score the 1 point for eSports Wales, sadly. It will be then joined by Jaruf, who is next. Collar Killer for CPI, Mr. Pop as well in there in 17th place. TRT up at the moment in 5th. I believe Absi, also a TRT driver there, up in 6th position. So TRT, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, have managed to get both of their drivers through. Actually, sorry, that's Mr. Pop. Sorry, that's TRT. My mistake. They're both obviously in green cars. So Mr. Pop has been knocked out for TRT. Jaruf has been knocked out for Neverlast Racing. They've got 1 through and 1 out in both cases. So already we've got 1 driver. There's not a full team that's out. Jaruf coming up to the line now. We'll see if he improves, but he does not improve. I think there might be a little bit of a glitch with his connection to the lobby, so we're just waiting for the session to end. But in that case, 5 drivers, 5 different teams, all have a driver missing out off the Q2.
And, well, I have to say, Mr. Pop Excel, his best time getting the mediums, would be kicking himself, because realistically, had he just been able to set a decent lap of the softs, it would have been able to send himself into Q2, and that would, and I'd say, and for Deniz would have to count himself lucky for Pop Excel just not getting a time in on the fastest compounded tyre.
Yeah, definitely. Deniz will be counting as lucky stars. Mr. Pop took the risk. I don't know if you invalidated that last one on the softs or made a mistake, but like you say, his fastest one on the medium compound tyres means that he's not made it through. We have reached the end of the session. Jaruf has left the session, so the session is now officially finished, and we can move on to Q2 then. So, running quickly through the order, once the order pops up on our screen of how Q1 ended, and it was Herald for Ecos who went fastest in that session on a 25.1, less than a tenth covering him, and Daniel Musso running in 2nd place. Nathan for Relentless is in 3rd ahead of IFR's P in 4th. TRT Lynx runs in 5th ahead of Absi in 6th. Dara, Yagazan, Colin Mason and Coxey round off the top 10 in Q1, and once again incredibly close, only 4 tenths covering the top 10 in Q1.
Well, it's one thing that's been established, and much like most league races on this game, it is going to be very close.
Yeah, definitely.
And, yeah, now just 15 drivers. It means that you have to up your game a bit more now in order to get into Q3, and there won't be much tyre saving or trying out mediums in this session, and it should be a very exciting one, to say the least.
Yeah, definitely should be. Just you could see there from the bubble of the gap, really around 8th all the way down to about, I would say, 11th or 12th place was just a few hundredths of a second, covering the 4 drivers that were on the cutoff line for what would be Q3. So it is looking like it's going to be very close. Maybe the one team a little bit out of position in Q1. Of course, it's Q1, so it's not fully representative maybe of their full speed. But ERT, Khalifa and Josh, maybe not quite able in Q1 to match what the ERT teammates did in Lobby 1. Of course, both ERT drivers at the front in Lobby 1, running 2nd at the moment, just 1 point off LR. Neither driver in the top 10 in Q1 that time around.
Yeah, that is a good point, although it is only Q1, so maybe you might be able to find it a bit more time than the others in like the Q2, but obviously they need to find the time now in order to make sure they can be in Q3 for that top 10 shootout, as we do see one driver out on the medium so already, so maybe attempting to just use the tyre for a banker run in Q2 and then have a brand new set of softs fresh for Q3 if they make it.
Yeah, of course, if they make it, that'll be interesting to see. It's Herald that's gone out on the medium compound tires. Of course, he was the fastest in Q1, so it would make sense that the fastest man would try something just a little bit different, but we'll see if that pays off. Of course, if you don't get the lap on the mediums as well, that does put a little bit more pressure on yourself to get it right on the soft compound tyres. We've already seen Mr. Pop full foul of having a dime on the mediums and not being able to improve on the softs later on in the session, so it does put a little bit more pressure on yourself to perform when the lap comes around. We will run on board with Herald when he comes up to the start of the lap. We'll see what he can do on that medium compound tyre. So hopefully we'll be able to see just a little bit of the differences between how the soft and the medium tyre performs in qualifying around Silverstone. We've already seen that the gap in pace isn't that big between the two compounds of tyres, but the problem is that the pack is incredibly close in this Lobby 2 session, as it was in Lobby 1. It's incredibly close, so there's no real margin for error. Herald, though, around the final corner and up to the line, so let's go through another lap of Silverstone as he heads down the Hamilton Straight and in towards turn 1. Through Abbey he goes, nice and hooked up, doesn't use all of the road, but you don't necessarily need to, you don't want to scrub off too much speed. Into the village and loop section, then the slowest part of the track, as we mentioned earlier on, into the loop. Hairpin hits the apex very nicely on the inside, doesn't quite get the traction though on the exit of the corner. That just is one of those things that happens with the medium tyres. It's a little bit difficult to hook up the traction on the exit of the corners as he heads to the end of the first sector. Then I believe that is a flat through the first sector, not a bad first sector time from Herald on the medium compound tyres. Then through the Luffield corner, using a bit more of the road than what we saw Colin Mason do earlier on in Q1 when we rode on board with him, up towards Copse corner. Now, how is this medium tyre going to perform through Copse? He uses all of the curb on the left hand side, doesn't quite hit the apex in the middle of the corner. The car is nice and stable through the high speed. He keeps it in 8th gear as well, hops over the curb nicely at the first part of Maggots and the first part of Beggett's as well. So obviously that car running maybe a little bit softer, allowing him to use these curves just a little bit more. Keeps it to the left hand side of the track, coming down towards the Stowe corner. I think that may be a 2.5 by the end of the second sector, which on the medium compound tyres is very respectable as he comes up towards the Vale and Club chicane. Despite it being, I think, the third longest track on the calendar, it is one of the shortest laps in terms of lap time. It is incredibly fast, this circuit, as he heads up towards the line, and it is a 25.8 on his first lap on the medium compound tyres, which is respectable. But Nathan immediately, a 25.4 on the softs, goes to the front of the field, but only 4/10 between Nathan and Herald. That's a pretty strong lap from Herald on the medium tyres.
And Absy is only a tenth ahead of Herald, so we absolutely would need to find a little bit more time, as Josh sets a 125.5, just a little bit ahead of Absy. And next person across the line, I think is it, and they out from the last corner and across the line for what is provisional pole position in Q2 on top of the sheet, 25.4, just ahead of Nathan. So that is his first 5 times to Q2, and I believe there's another car coming across just to start a lap there of TRT Lynx.
Yeah, Colin Mason currently on a lap, coming towards the end of his one for eSports Wales. And I think eSports Wales, with either been right down in 20th in Q1, it is looking unlikely that they might make it through to League One, but we never know what Colin Mason could pull out in this qualifying session. He rounds the final corner, crosses and goes P4 and a 25.6. It goes ahead of Absy on the softs. Yagazan, another driver that's gone for the medium tyres, a 25.9, just a tenth behind Herald, but they're still only 6th and 7th. They're still the slowest drivers to have set times so far, so they're going to be hoping that the drivers that come in and set times behind them aren't quite as fast. We've got more drivers on laps. Dara's on a lap, but it looks like he's turned his ERS off, so I think he may have invalidated somewhere around the lap, and he has. He's dived straight into the pit lane to Dara, not going to set a lap. Daniel Musso crosses the line, and that is a 25.6, which is interesting because Daniel Musso only a 25.6 in this session. In the previous session, a 25.2 on the soft, so maybe a mistake somewhere around that lap for Daniel.
Well, one, two mistakes, I suppose, and now that shot can only mean that there's more time to find, and a 25.6 with mistakes. I would say that is, well, that would go well for in terms of pace, although you'd have to hope we can rectify that mistake in what is seemingly he's going again. And let's see now what time it'll be in the second sector for Daniel Musso.
Yeah, it is. He's just found a little bit more in this part of the lap, keeps it to the left hand side. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that is about a 2.2 in the middle part of the lap, so it's not bad. It's still not quite maybe the fastest that we're going to see, although he's only 2/10 currently off provisional pole despite the mistake, so there could be a bit more time in this final sector maybe as he heads up towards the Vale Club chicane. Very late on the brakes through there, nicely hits the apexes on both sides. So it was a 25.6 on this first run. Has he found more time on the second run? He has. He's found a tenth of a second, so goes up into P4. Makes him a little bit safer than he originally was, but still not quite towards the front of the field, maybe where he was in Q1. Absi and TRT Lynx, of course, in the session at the moment. TRT, their one sole remaining driver in the session, has gone P9 on 25.7, so he's not quite safe just yet. And already, Yagazan on the medium tyres and Herald 10th and 11th, so that maybe trying to get through on the medium compound tyres, definitely not the strategy to go with still 4 drivers yet to do lap times.
Yeah, and that probably put him under a little pressure, and when there is pressure you might make a mistake on the soft tyre that would cost you a place in Q3. And I'll say, without being in the lead at the moment, we'll need both drivers into Q3. Then it also looks like we should be through to Q3. Maybe it just has to go out for another lap, just to improve and to make sure of it.
Yeah, at the moment maybe he's at the moment looking comfortable, but of course we're still yet to see people set another lap on the tyres that could find a little bit more speed on a fresher set. Jaume is another driver on a lap at the moment for LFR. Their other LFR driver, Deniz, is currently 7th and in for the time being. In that moment as well, Cox has gone fastest for Relentless on a 25.3, so the first person in this session to dip below the 25.4s. Of course, the fastest time in Q2 in Lobby 1 was a 24.9, so we'll see if anyone can get close to that in this session. Down then, around the final corner, currently without a time in 14th, crosses the line, goes second with a 25.3, that's a good lap time from him, and he goes just 1/100th of a second off the provisional pole time, so good time from LFR. Maybe didn't have the best of showings in Q1, but in Q2, they're getting a bit further up, maybe just building their confidence as the session goes on.
Well, yeah, it does take some people longer than others to find their pace, as well, yeah, it just depends on how much practice you do really need. But it is a good showing for him in 2nd and 8th. And then with 2 lap times still to be put on board from the IFRA drivers. And with about just over 5 minutes left in the session, it's all to play for still. As anyone could end up being knocked out as Herald as 25.2. So
yeah.
First 25.2 of this qualifying session.
Yeah, strong lap from Herald there to go just a 10th of a second clear at the top of the field. Of course, he was the fastest man in Q1 as well, so taking over from where he left off, and that means that he is comfortably safe. Nathan currently on a lap as well, rounds the final corner, doesn't improve on his time, so that might have been an invalidated lap time somewhere, unless he's backed off and is going for another run on the same set on the second lap. Currently 5th fastest at the moment, so we'll see if he can improve. Colin Mason is on a lap at the moment. He's just come out of Cop's corner. He has got a car in front of him on the road, but I think they're far enough up the road to not really interfere too much with Colin Mason's lap, but he was just a little bit offline there. Through Maggots and Beckett's, a lot of drivers running over the grass. Coming through Chapple, it seems to be a lot more forgiving on this game, running on the grass through that corner, so drivers experimenting when they can and using all of the road where necessary. Through Stowe then uses the curb on the inside nicely, gets him to rotate the car just that little bit quicker, comes up towards the final few corners. Then currently on the bubble in 10th place is the eSports Wales driver of Colin Mason. Can he get himself inside the top 10 as Yagazan goes fastest, and Colin Mason goes 8th on the 25.5, so he found nearly 2/10 of a second. Yagazan's gone fastest and has gone straight off the road after his lap. I don't know if he's hit anything. No, he's managed to keep it out of the wall.
It's fine.
Yeah, managed to keep it out of the wall.
Yep, and I kept it in a straight line as well, so no harm done. IFRA PS is starting a lap now and will be looking to win a time good enough for a top 10. And for Dara, who didn't put in a representative lap time there, needs to put in one now. And maybe we'll have enough time for another run, if necessary.
Yeah, if necessary, he could maybe dive into the pits at the end of this lap if he's not feeling confident. Nathan, meanwhile, has improved on his second lap on the same set of tyres to do a 25.3 dead, so he's gone comfortably into third place. Relentless currently sitting in third and fourth. It's LR and Ecos holding on to the front two spots at the moment in the session. IFR leaving it right to the last minute to get their lap times in. Remember, both IFR drivers made it through to Q3 in Lobby 1. They're currently sitting third on 29 points. They need to get themselves in to secure their place in League 1 for the season coming up. Dara is going to be the first of the two drivers to set a lap time, a representative lap time in this session. His only time so far is a 31.7 as he rounds through Stowe just a little bit wide. He's continuing on with his lap though, maybe feeling confident enough that this is going to see him through into Q3 as he rounds the final couple of corners. It's going to be his last run in the session. Up towards the line, Dara crosses. He goes P4 on a 25.3. That should see him through quite comfortably. Left it to the last minute, but has got the lap time in. Pease is just behind him on the road as well. He's now coming through the two corners of Club to finish off the lap. Currently without a time for 15th. He crosses the line. He stays 15th, so he's backed out of that lap at some point and is going again. So Pease leaving it right to the last minute to set a time.
Well, and I mean, there won't be a chance to go back in for new tyres after this, so I guess just needs to get the good time in now. And, well, there's no other choice, quite frankly. It's all on this lap. Almost the worst quality. That is a slipstream that almost went wrong.
Wow. Yeah, just missed that for Pease there, unfortunately. But yeah, Pease on the lap trying to get the slipstream from his teammate Daniel Musso. Another one on the lap, currently 10th fastest. He's gone out on a fresh set of soft compound tyres just to make sure he's a bit safer in Q3. He comes around the final corner and crosses the line and goes fastest with a 25 flat. That's a brilliant lap time for Daniel Musso, and that puts LR a 1-2 for the time being. Then that is a brilliant time. They're continuing on their strong form from Lobby 1 into Lobby 2, sitting at the front of the field. That is both of their drivers comfortably through. Second through fourth have not gone out for another lap. Sixth down are all on their out laps at the moment. Deniz currently on a lap. Where is Pease currently heading through Stowe? 15th at the moment. Has he been able to keep it valid and keep it fast enough to get himself to the front of the field? Currently 15th without a time. He rounds the final two corners. A little bit of a wobble midway through the chicane, but he heads up towards the line. Was 15th, goes P6 on a 25.3. It's incredibly tight in that mid-pack. We've got 5 drivers on a 25.3, but Pease has managed to put himself into 6th place. He left it to the last minute, but hopefully that should see him through into the final part of qualifying.
Well, there'll be just a bit of a wait now as there is some yellow flags up to go away. And I just need to see how much time is left in the session. Around 35 seconds until this the checker flag drops, and well, you either finish the lap you're on or you're done. And so LR12 is 30 links as when P4 25.2. The time's really starting to drop now as Absi has just started, and some of the drivers are crossing the line now to start their laps. And will Daniel Musso is done. I can take the checker flag first. Top 3 are all done. 30 links now is done, but that's not flaggy just yet.
Top 7 I think are all done. Josh has just gone P9 on a 25.390. That splits him perfectly down the middle of Coxey and Jam, but Jam's on another lap, Hiddy's on another lap. Khalifa has backed out. I think Khalifa has backed out, so I think that's his session over and done with. ERT then have lost one of their drivers in Q2, and it is Khalifa who's not able to improve on his 25.4. Is he able to hold on to at least 12? Or will he lose more places? Colin Mason won't be one to improve. He's spun through Cop's corner, so that is his session over and done with. Absi coming down the hanger straight at the moment, seeing if they can improve on their time up towards Stoke.
No, invalid
time, so he's not going to be improving. Deniz then will be the only person that can knock Khalifa off that 12th place. Hiddy's coming up towards the line. Cox has gone third fastest, so he's put himself safe.
No, into the pits.
Safe in the session. Into the pits, yeah. Not improving, so Deniz into the pits. Hiddy is going to cross the line. Is both ERT drivers going to get knocked out? They both are. Hiddy up into second place with a 25.1 split. The drivers at the front, Jaum improved as well to go third. ERT second at the moment after Lobby 1. Both of their drivers are out in Q2. Josh 11th, Khalifa 12th. That puts them under a little bit of pressure, especially with some new teams up in the top part of qualifying. So that has got to be the shock then. Both ERT drivers out in the second part.
And well, this is a gift here for LR, which, well, considering that they're fighting for the top spot, it means now that LR have a bit of distance at the top now, and as long as there's a good Q3 performance, there should be nothing much to worry about. But for ERT, obviously, with the likes of driver from LFR and REL being in Q3 now, they may be under a bit of pressure.
Yeah, they definitely could be under a bit of pressure. Like you say, IFR are only a few points back. Relentless themselves only a few points back as well. TRT have got a driver up in the top 10 as well. LFR, like you say, right up there in qualifying as well. But that's running through how it shaped up in Q2. Look how close it was. Daniel Musso fastest this time around in Q2 ahead of Hide, Jam, Coxey, Yagazan, Herald, Lynx, Nathan, Dara and Pease are your drivers through to the top 10. The final part of qualifying. Under 0.3 of a second separated the top 10 at the end of that. Incredibly close. Josh just missing out. Khalifa 12 ahead of Diniz, Colin Mason and Absi. So Josh, Khalifa, Diniz, Colin Mason and Absi are going to be scoring 10 through to 6 points for their teams in qualifying that time around. So that is Q2 over and done with. Just get ready then for the start of Q3. Getting ready to go for this one. And yeah, pretty exciting qualifying session. And despite Silverstone being one of the longest tracks on the calendar, always produces really close qualifying, doesn't it? And yet again, under 0.3 covering the top 10, it's anyone's game.
Anyone's game indeed. And well, just a 12-minute session now to the top 10 shootout for pole position. Let's see who will be first out. And it looks like it'll be I think it is Ariel Nathan who is first out to go for a lap here, and closely followed by Ifere Dara.
Yeah, Relentless and IFR then the first drivers out onto the track, then Nathan out with Dara, two drivers. They were 8th and 9th in Q2 respectively, so they're at the lower half, but still, like we mentioned, incredibly close in the first part of qualifying, so anything for them. This is as well, now we've got to think about tyre strategy. Who's saved what for the session? Has anybody been able to save a fresh set of softs, or are people only got one fresh set of softs left for the session? That could be crucial as well into getting into a rhythm. We saw it from Relentless in the first hobby that Izza had a really strong Q1 and Q2, but coming into Q3 could never really hook up the lap in the final part, maybe down to the fact that he didn't have enough tyres maybe to set good lap times. So that is another thing to note as well, isn't it, that some drivers may have two sets of fresh softs, some other drivers may only have one.
And yeah, obviously some people would have been forced to use more tyres than they would have liked to in the first two sessions to get through, and well, that could compromise them in Q3. You may see some of them go for a used set in this session here, although I don't think any of them are.
Yeah, it does look like I think almost everybody is out on the track on a fresh set, apart from Jam and Herald. They're not out on the track yet, but I would be surprised if Herald only has one set, considering he set his first runs in Q2 on the medium compound tyres. But it's going to be Nathan, the first man, to set a time in this qualifying session in Q3. So we'll see what the Relentless driver can do as he heads through the village and farm section, then into the loop. He heads out of the loop and down the Wellington Straight towards the end of the first sector. What is his first sector time going to be? Keep an eye on that timing on the steering wheel. We'll see what the first sector time is like, and I believe it is a flat through the first sector. Not bad, but not the fastest we are going to see tonight as he heads through Luffield, a little bit wide of the apex. Tried to square off the corner but couldn't really quite make the apex in the second part of the corner, so just a little bit wide. Cuts across the line through Woodcote and then up towards Cobb's Corner down the National Pit Straight, using all of the curb on the left hand side as he heads through the right hander, making sure he hops over the curb on the left hand side as well, just to make sure that the car is nice and stable. Through Maggots and Beckett's, though it doesn't look like he's pushing too hard, so I'm wondering whether he has backed off this lap. It doesn't look like he's quite on the edge of performance. I think he has backed off, so I think Nathan may be recognising that the first part of that lap wasn't quite up to what he would have wanted, so he's backed off and is maybe going to go again on the same set of tyres, which at the moment around Silverstone, going for the second lap actually doesn't really seem to be any sort of disadvantage. Every driver seems to be going out there with enough fuel to do 2 runs, knowing that the tyre drop-off isn't that big in qualifying.
And the tyre usually don't wear that much round surface on this game, which would be in a slight opposition to what it can be like in real life, like especially last year in the 2020 British Grand Prix with the high levels of tyre wear. Oh, and he's went for a spin.
Oh. Yeah, Nathan for a spin then.
I might want to stop reversing there. As it has stopped.
Yeah, got going once again. Cox's teammate's gone into the pit lane, so I think he's invalidated his first run. But yeah, not a good start to Q3 for Relentless. Zan's gone fastest though for LR with a 25.2, continuing on with their good performance. His teammate currently third at the moment is Pease, that splits the 2 LR drivers at the moment on a 25.2. Hiddy right there on a 25.4. We've still got Lynx and Jam on laps at the moment. Jam's just started his run actually on that set of tyres. Dara's on another lap. Lynx then coming up towards the end of his run. Can he put that TRT car anywhere near the front of the field, trying to score as much points as he can to get them into League One for next season? He crosses the line. He goes just ahead of Hiddy by 100th of a second, and it's less than a tenth of Daniel Musso for third place. So it's again incredibly close. We've got 5 drivers that have set time so far. Jam and Dara are on laps at the moment. Harold has just started his first lap. It's not a great start though. It's Q3 for Relentless. Both drivers, one spun and one invalidating their first run.
Well, it seems like Q3 now means some people are making mistakes. And there's still some lap times to be set.
Speaking of mistakes there, Dara very wide through Stoke Corner, clearly invalidating the lap and then darting across the grass in towards the pit lane. So Dara, on his second lap on that set of tyres, couldn't set a valid time. So he's into the pit lane. Daniel Musso's gone now up into second to make it in LR1-2. And look at how close it is between the 2 LR drivers. Just 2 thousandths of a second covers the 2 drivers, with P's less than 300, just over 300 of a second behind. So incredibly close at the moment. Less than half a tenth separates the top 3. Lynx and Hidde just a bit further back. Jam across the line now. He goes now 4th place on the 25.3 to split that pack of drivers clean down the middle. We now wait for Harold, who's been right at the front of this qualifying session so far. He's heading down towards Stowe right now. He's got his DRS open as he heads into the corner, heads round, but I think he's backed off his first lap as well. So Harold not going for the run on the first one, and he's into the pit lane as well. So a lot of drivers, like you mentioned in Q3, making mistakes early on.
Well, yeah, that's it. Seems like the pressure's just starting to get to some people. And, but, well, there's still a few minutes to go and another chance to set lap times, and it seems to be just over half the grid have managed to put in a time, which will probably ease the pressure. Well, like Dara, Harold, Roxy and Nathan, they all have an issue in terms of, well, they don't have a lap time. So they might have to take some risks to maybe try find some lap time, or they might have to hold back a bit in order to just get a time in.
Yeah, definitely. They've not got that bank on the board that they can base anything off of, like you say, so it's going to be difficult for them to really find their maximum. They've not got any reference point as to what their fastest lap is going to be, so we'll wait and see. Jam's just entered the pit lane, which just means that everyone is now in the pits. So everyone just waiting then to get ready to go out for their next run in qualifying. There will be a little bit of a lull, and imagine around the 4 minute, maybe the 3.5 minute mark, drivers will start coming out for their final runs in the session. Of course, they want the best kind of track conditions they can get, and I think one of the Relentless cars is about to head out onto the track right now. We'll wait and see which one that is. I think it could be Nathan heading out onto the track. He'll be maybe the first one, and another driver's coming out the pit lane at the other end as well. And it is Nathan, and he's followed very closely by his teammate Coxie. They're both coming out onto the track at the same time. So Relentless at the moment going to have the track all to themselves.
And I mean, I guess you have a bit of space on track. It doesn't do any harm. I mean, just getting the time in, then yeah, they're going to just get time on the board that'll probably be the only time they'll be able to get in this session now.
Yeah, it will be the only time that they can get in. I think they're running flying formation at the moment out on track. I think one wants to go ahead of the other and they're not giving each other any room. So I think one driver wants to maybe get a tow and they're not letting them have it. But either way, they are into Q3. They are running flying formation at the front of the field. Of course, neither of them without a time in the session at the moment. They've gone out a little bit earlier as well, which maybe suggests that they've gone out with a bit more fuel on board, maybe just to run 2 laps on the same set of tyres in case they do invalidate their first one. We've seen a few drivers already do that in this session. Herald, one of those. Dara, another one of those as well. Daniel Musso got his best time on his second lap on that same set of softs as well. So drivers not finding any drop-off in performance when running onto their second laps. Like I mentioned, they got the track all to themselves. And now Dara out onto the track for IFR. He is out. He's another driver without a lap time. I'm sure we'll see Herald out onto the track very shortly after him as well. So we'll see what they're able to do. But at the moment, you've got to say that for Coxie and Nathan, they're going to have to nail these laps because they've been running 25 4s and 25 3s all the way through these sessions. That they're going to have to nail the lap just to even think about maybe getting into the top 3 places.
Yeah, it's extremely close. Although some drivers did do 25.0s in Q2 and 25.1, so they will know that there is time to be found in these laps, and well, they'll either have to try chase the time or just try and let the time come to them. As Nathan has started his lap, and we'll have to see what his first sector will be like compared to the others.
Yeah, makes it through farm this time around without losing the rear of the car. Same through village as well and through the loop. So nice and neat through the first sector this time around. No spin for Nathan as he heads up to the end of the first sector. We'll see what his first sector time looks like. I think that's a 0.9 in the first sector, so a little bit better than what we saw when we first ran on board with him. As he heads through left field again, taking a bit of a wider line, but this time around is able to hit the apex at the second part of the corner, so a little bit neater through there this time around. Up towards Cox, we haven't really seen him at full pelt through this part of the track in Q3 so far. A little bit of a lift off through Cox, and you can see there from the steering angle, just a little bit loose at the rear of the car. We've got a car in front of us on the track heading through Maggots and Beckett, so hopefully they don't get in the way as he heads through the final part and then through Chapel. In fact, it is Daniel Musso who's going to move out of the way nicely. In fact, might give just a tiny bit of a tow to Nathan down the back straight, who was on a 2 flat, I think, in the middle part of the lap, which is pretty strong. Could put him towards the likes of Jaum, and he's maybe up in P4 if he can nail this final sector, then up towards the Vale and Club chicane. Well, probably going to be his one and only qualifying run in Q3 as he heads up towards the line, nice and neat through the final chicane towards the line, and Nathan
P1
goes fastest actually. Wow, brilliant final sector from Nathan, a 25.1. That is a very strong lap time. Coxie crosses the line, isn't able to do the same, so he's 8th and the slowest of the drivers so far, but Nathan, great improvement on that final run. Is up to the LR drivers.
Dara is on a very good lap here.
Yeah, Dara then currently P9 getting a lovely tow from Pease there down the hanger straight then. See what he can do towards the end of his lap then. Pease currently 4th, so it's a 25.1 he's got to beat. Can Dara beat that 25.1 from Nathan? He uses a lot of curb at both parts. That was a lot on the inside of the second part of club. Yeah, I was going to say that was a lot of curb. And he's invalidated the time because of it.
25.0 it would have been, so that has cost pole.
And he's backed off as well. Dara's backed off on the second one. He's not got enough fuel or ERS to do another run. So Dara is not going to have a time in Q3, unfortunately. That is going to be it for him. Nathan has spared some time on pole for the time being, at least. Can anyone improve? Coxie spun through Cop, so he's not going to be improving on his run at this present time. I think Daniel Musso's gone off the road. Yeah, Musso retiring as well. Yagizan on the lap, but he was a little bit wide through Stowe, so I'm not quite sure if that's valid. It's invalid, yeah, so Yagizan's not going to improve. So Nathan, at the moment, they're all kind of falling by the wayside. No one is, at the moment is finding any improvements. Are we seeing anything from the likes of Pease or Jam or Lynx? I think Lynx is the furthest along a lap of these final drivers. Actually, no, sorry, it's Herald who's the furthest along as he heads through the final part of the lap. He's been right at the front of these qualifying sessions. Can he do it in Q3 as well? Very nice through Vale and Club and up towards the line. Herald without a time, currently 10th, crosses the line. It's only 4th with exactly the same time as Daniel Musso. Herald goes P4 for Ecos. That's their best qualifying performance though of this session. Lynx crosses the line, he's 6th. What can Pease do for IFR? Currently 5th on a 25.259. He only needs to find just over a 10th. Hiddy's gone second. Now, that's a good time from him. P's across the line.
He
goes fastest by 100th of a second. Pease is going to steal pole position away from Nathan in the dying deaths. Yeah, brilliant lap time as well. They're up to P4 then as well. Good time from Jam. That is qualifying over and done with. Everybody's times are finished. Q3 is over. And the fastest man in Lobby 2 at the end of Q3 is Pease for IFR by 100th of a second over Nathan. It looked like it was going to be LR all the way through that session. They were the fastest in pretty much all of the sessions. Come to the end of it, they're only quite able to manage 5th and 6th, but look at how close it is. Just over a 10th covers the top 7.
Yeah, so that was a bit of a surprising qualifying session where a lot of people just not being able to put in the laps at the end. And some people will now have the feeling of they missed out on getting pole and what will be maximum points they could achieve in the session for their team. Let's see what the standings are like after this now.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what the standings are like. Let's run you through, though. The final qualifying order then in Q3. P's the fastest man, so he'll get the 20 points for IFR. His IFR teammate, though, only 10th without a time, so he'll get 11. Nathan for Relentless is second ahead of Hide. Jaum, Yagazan, Daniel Musso, Herald, Lynx, Coxey and Dara then are your top 10 of the drivers that set times. The top 9 were separated by 3.5 tenths of a second, so again, once again, incredibly close. But that is Lobby 2 over and done with. That is the qualifying session for EML over and done with. I think we'll wait and see what we can do in terms of points for these teams as well, see what the point standings are going to be at the end of this one and who's going to be through into League 1 and who's going to be in League 2 for the upcoming season. But at the end of that qualifying session, though, who stands out to you as a driver of the qualifying session for you? Who do you think is going to take the cake for driver of the qualifying for you?
I'd say Nathan, because we didn't really expect that much in the session, but he managed to put in a time at the end, and it was a P2 when we didn't really see a P2 on the cards. But and also one of the stand-up performers there would be for APS, who, along with his teammate, had just barely scraped into Q3 and then put it on pole position, which is a massive feat.
Yeah, really is a massive feat in the end. P's getting the pole position at the end. Of course, ILR as well, another shout out to them. They're both drivers through then for them into Q3, which I think pretty much guarantees that they're right at the front of the standings, if not the top team after qualifying. But we'll wait for confirmation on that one. We'll wait and see. Of course, there's so much still to come from EML. That is just the qualifying session. We've had so many people watching the stream. Thank you so much to everyone that has tuned into the stream so far, up to 60 viewers at one point. And League Racer TV has hit 1K subscribers in that time. Once again, just a reminder on that. So thank you to all those that have subscribed and watched here this evening. Of course, tune in to EML for the rest of the season. We've got the calendar, I believe, possibly ready to go. So hopefully you guys can maybe see that on the screen. But the first round isn't that far away. The first round of EML was on the 25th of August. I believe that's only 2 weeks away. So not long to wait for the first round of the season. That will be at Bahrain, followed by the Spanish Grand Prix a month later. We'll be running the same as we did last season, 1 race per month at the end of the month. It's Azerbaijan for round 3, ahead of France, Austria, USA, Brazil, Italy, Portugal, and Abu Dhabi are going to be our tracks for the second season of EML. That'd be great to see as well, with new tracks like Imola and Portimao later on in the season. So a lot of challenges coming up, and you've got to say that after qualifying here today, Brendan, it's going to be incredibly close no matter what league you're in.
Indeed, both leagues should be very, very good to watch. And we can only wait and see once it's all counted. And then, obviously, once that's all done, it's only down to the drivers then for the season in EML.
Yeah, it really is down to the drivers for the season in EML. I wouldn't want to be one of the teams making the predictions. That's going to be incredibly difficult to predict who's going to be at the top of each league. Of course, we've got a lot of returning teams from last season as well to look out for, a lot of champions from previous seasons. So it's fun to see how these new teams integrate into the latter ones as well. I think that's pretty much where we might finish off, unless we are going to get the points in at some point, which I'm not sure we quite are before the stream ends. But either way, we'll get those points out towards you at some point. But thank you so much to everybody for tuning in to this stream. It's been absolutely brilliant, this one has been. So wait and see what we're going to come up with. I just think we're just going to wait for confirmation to see if the points are coming in. I think the points are coming in now, actually, so we'll just see what they are. And it does look like Leonis are the top qualifying team here today with 68 points. So congrats to Leonis. They have made it in to the League One Championship. Of course, this is provisional as well, so do make sure you keep an eye out for that one. That's going to be something to look out for. IFR are going to be second in the points on 60. ERT and Relentless, I believe, have both scored the same amount of points on 55, so they're joint third qualifiers. And it was a very, very close battle for 5th place in qualifying. Of course, remember, take this with a pinch of salt. We're just waiting for full confirmation as well a little bit later on. But as it stands, it does look like CPI are the final qualifying team for League One by a single point over ECOS. That is incredibly close, but congratulations to CPI for making it through Hiddy. Getting that good qualifying in at the end of them, I think, has secured them a brilliant, brilliant performance in the end. Commiserations to ECOS missing out just at the end there. Same with TRT. Actually, TRT just a further point behind ECOS, so incredibly close. And LFR just a further point behind that. So really, really close in that battle for 5th. But CPI are the ones that have come out on top behind LFR. It's Neverlast Racing with 25 and eSports Wales at the bottom end of the championship with 20 points and 10th in the qualifying. So that is the qualifying standings provisionally as it stands. And like I mentioned, incredibly close there for 5th place. And in the end, it is CPI that comes out on the top.
Yeah, a very close one. And I wonder if there was anything that would be... I wonder what it'll be like now for the season. As... Realistically, it'd be that close, I wouldn't... Then who knows really who will come out on top in both tiers.
Yeah, I think just tonight proved that it was so up and down between teams who saw ERT both into Q3 and Lobby 1, but both of them out in Q2. So it just goes to show that slight changes can make such big differences in this championship. So I can't wait for this championship to get going in just 2 weeks' time. Of course, we've got 3 divisions this time around. We've got the Premier Division, we have got the League One and the League Two, and I believe myself and Brendan will be commentating over League Two for the upcoming season. So if you want to see more of myself and Brendan, make sure that you tune into that on the 25th of August. But from myself and Brendan, it is thank you so much for watching us tonight, and we will see you in 2 weeks' time for the first round of Season 2 of EML. Thank you so much, and goodbye.